Welcome to Creepytalks. Stories 1. The last time I went camping with my cousins, I promised myself I'd never set foot in the woods again. Yet here I was, sitting in the back seat of Liam's aging Jeep, bumping along a forest road deep inside Black Hollow Reserve, an area famous for pristine lakes, wildlife, and a handful of disappearances no one liked to talk about. Relax, Liam said as he drummed his fingers on the steering wheel. 3 days off the grid. No school, no work, no phones. Just us, a campfire, and the stars. I wasn't convinced. My phone signal had already vanished 20 minutes ago, and the deeper we went, the quieter the forest became. Unnaturally quiet, like something had sucked the sound out of the air. In the passenger seat, my cousin Hannah stretched her arms and grinned. Come on, Mia. You've wanted an escape for weeks. Think of this as therapy. Therapy was not the word I would have chosen. Not when the trees felt like they were leaning inward, watching us. Not when every instinct I had whispered that the forest didn't want us here. We finally reached the clearing, a broad, grassy space beside a still, narrow lake. The air smelled like pine and cold water. Liam killed the engine, and for the first time, real silence settled over us. Perfect spot, he said, hopping out. I stepped onto the ground and scanned the tree line. The trunks were tall, straight, and tightly packed. Far too dense. The lake reflected them like black glass. Then something moved. Just a ripple on the surface. Not fish, larger. I blinked and the water stilled, completely untouched. Hannah nudged my shoulder. You okay? Yeah, I lied. We unpacked the tents, set up a fire ring, and arranged our gear. Liam hummed a tune as he worked, an airy, repetitive whistle that I realized I'd heard since we started driving. I thought it was a song playing from the radio earlier, but now out here with no electronics around, the tune felt odd, like he was echoing something he had heard in the forest. Where did you learn that? I asked. The whistle. I don't know. He paused as if surprised at himself. Guess it stuck in my head. The sun began sinking behind the dark trees, painting the water with streaks of orange and gold. Soon the shadows thickened, long and heavy. That's when the forest finally found its voice. Not normal forest sounds. No birds, no rustling squirrels. No. The first sound was a low creak, like wood twisting under pressure. Then a distant thump. Then faint, slow splashes, as though something large was wading through the lake on the far side. Every hair on my arms rose. Liam didn't seem to notice. Fire time, he announced, striking a match. The small flame flickered to life, and somehow it made the encroaching darkness feel even darker, like the light exposed how deeply unnatural the shadows around us were. We sat around the fire, roasting marshmallows, telling stories, pretending everything was normal. But something was watching us. I first felt it as a prickle, an unwelcome awareness at the back of my neck. I looked over my shoulder. A shape stood between two trees, not clear, not fully visible, but tall, much taller than any of us, with a narrow, elongated silhouette. Do you see that? I whispered. Hannah followed my gaze. See what? The space between the trees was empty, but I knew something had been there. We stayed close to the fire until the stars came out. The sky above was beautiful, a river of shimmering dust across an endless black canvas. Liam leaned back on his elbows, confident, relaxed. I love nights like this, he said. Feels like the world shrinks down to just us. I didn't feel small. I felt surrounded. At around midnight, we crawled into our tents. I shared one with Hannah, while Liam slept alone in his. The nylon walls felt too thin, like they did nothing to separate us from whatever roamed the woods. I lay awake listening. Hannah breathed softly beside me. The fire outside faded into glowing embers. For a few minutes, nothing happened. Then something stepped into the clearing. I felt it more than heard it. Soft, deliberate pressure in the ground. A slow, dragging stride. Grass shifting. The faintest scrape of something against wood. I stopped breathing. Another step. Closer. Then a low whistle drifted through the air. The same tune Liam had been unconsciously repeating. Only this whistle wasn't human. It was too smooth, too airy, too perfect, like someone or something was mimicking the sound rather than producing it naturally. My chest tightened. The whistle grew louder, moving around the campsite in a lazy, playful arc. It circled us, humming the same short melody over and over. Hannah stirred. "Mia, what is that noise?" I placed a shaking hand over her arm. "Don't move." A shadow passed over our tent, blocking the faint moonlight for one long moment. Then another whistle, directly above us. Hannah clamped a hand over her mouth to stifle a gasp. The silhouette outside the fabric slowly leaned down. I could see its outline, tall, wrong, its limbs too long, its head tilted like it was listening. It sniffed the tent, sniffed us. My heartbeat roared in my ears. Then from the other tent, Liam whispered, "Mia, Hannah, is someone walking out there?" The whistling stopped instantly. Silence thickened. For one long, terrible moment, nothing moved. Then footsteps sped across the clearing, not away from us, but straight toward Liam's tent. He gasped. Something heavy collided with fabric. Liam screamed, and then nothing. Just the soft ripple of water from the lake, as if something had entered it. Story 2. I scrambled out of the sleeping bag, nearly tripping over Hannah as we fought with the zipper of the tent. My hand shook so badly I could barely grip it. When the flap finally burst open, cold night air rushed in, carrying the sharp scent of wet earth and lake water. "Liam!" Hannah yelled. His tent was half collapsed, the poles bent, the flap torn open as if something had yanked it from the inside. The flashlight he kept clipped to his sleeping bag was nowhere to be seen. What was visible, though, were deep grooves carved into the soil, as if long fingers or claws had raked across the dirt. "Liam!" I called again, my voice cracking. No answer. The moonlight shimmered on the surface of the lake, rippling gently. Too gently, like the water had only recently stopped moving. I took a step forward. Hannah grabbed my wrist. "Don't," she whispered. "What if it's still out there?" I didn't want to think about what it was. The thing that whistled. The thing that sniffed us through the tent wall. The thing that mimicked Liam's tune so perfectly it felt rehearsed. "We need to find him," I said. "We can't just—" A sound cut me off. A low, wet choke from the tree line. Hannah and I froze. Another noise followed, soft, uneven footsteps, but not like a normal person's steps. Each footfall came with a faint dragging sound, like something long trailed behind it. Through the gaps in the trees, a shape moved, not rushing, not running, just observing, waiting. I swallowed hard. "We have to get to the Jeep." "Yes," Hannah whispered. "Keys. Liam has the keys." My stomach dropped. Of course he did. He always kept them on him, clipped to his belt. And now he was gone, dragged into the forest or the lake. We had no way of driving out, unless we found him, or his keys. The creature's silhouette shifted between the trees, slow and deliberate. It was taller than I remembered, maybe because now it wasn't hunched over our tent. Its limbs were thin and impossibly long, like branches pulled from the forest and forced into the shape of a body. It whistled again. Only this time the sound was broken. Lower, almost mocking. Hannah whispered, "Mia." I think it wants us to follow. I'm not following it anywhere. But Liam, I grabbed her shoulders. If we go into that forest at night, we won't make it out. Tears shimmered in her eyes, but she nodded. We backed away slowly, keeping our eyes on the trees. The creature didn't move. It stood there, partially hidden, the moonlight illuminating only the edge of its elongated frame. We snatched our backpacks, grabbed every flashlight we had, and pressed together near the dying fire. Hannah crouched down and stirred the embers. "What are you doing?" I hissed. "We need more light." She fed in handfuls of dry leaves and spare kindling until flames rose again. The warm glow pushed back the darkness, but not enough. It felt like lighting a match inside a cavern, small, fragile, temporary. "Okay," Hannah said, her breath shaky. "Plan?" "First light," I said. "We stick together, stay awake, and wait until sunrise. Then we follow the tracks. And if it comes back, we run, or fight, or both." The woods groaned. A long, creaking moan like wood twisting under an unseen weight. The creature was no longer at the tree line. We didn't see it leave. It was just gone. Maybe it left," Hannah whispered hopefully. But I knew better. Predators didn't leave. They circled. "Let's keep the fire big," I said. "Liam taught us that animals don't like fire." That thing wasn't an animal. We sat back to back beside the flames. Time dragged. Every minute felt like an hour. The forest was too quiet. Even the crickets were silent. My eyes stayed fixed on the lake. Hannah's remained locked on the trees. Around 2 a.m., the temperature dropped sharply. Our breath curled white in the air. The lake's surface misted over. And that was when we heard it again. The whistle. But it sounded wrong. It was coming from two directions, one soft and distant, from deep inside the forest. The other, closer, much closer, from behind Liam's tent. Hannah stiffened. "There's two of them?" "No," I whispered. "It's just one. It's echoing itself." The whistle warped, the tone stretching unnaturally like it was bending the sound with its throat. The melody faltered, twisted itself inside out, then returned to the familiar tune Liam had hummed earlier. "Stop," Hannah whispered harshly, covering her ears. "Stop, stop." "It knows we're scared," I said. The fire crackled, sparks shooting upward like frightened fireflies. Then a new sound joined the whistling. Footsteps, soft rhythmic footsteps, coming from the lake. We turned our flashlights toward the shoreline. Something stood knee-deep in the water, tall, still, watching. Its wet skin, or whatever covered it, glistened in the beams of light. Its arms hung low, fingertips nearly touching the surface. A face, if it had a face, was turned toward us, pale and featureless except for two dark, hollow shapes where eyes should have been. Hannah grabbed my arms so tightly her nails dug into my skin. The creature cocked its head. Then, something dropped into the water beside it with a splash. A small, cold object washed ashore. I inched closer, flashlight trembling. It was a key ring. Liam's, still clipped to a torn piece of his belt. Hannah choked back a sob. The creature rose slowly, step by step, emerging from the water with a liquid slowness that made my stomach twist. It wasn't giving us the keys. It was showing us what it had, showing us what it could take. I backed away, my voice barely a whisper. "Hannah, run." Story 3. We didn't run at first, not because we didn't want to, but because our legs refused to move. The creature stared back at us from the lake's edge, dripping and silent, the faint moonlight outlining its unnatural shape. Then it stepped forward. The water rippled behind it, Its long fingers trailed along the surface before lifting, dripping like strands of melted wax. "Mia," Hannah whispered, "we have to go. Now." The creature tilted its head again, as if considering us. Then it whistled, soft, almost curious. That was enough. "Run!" I shouted. This time our bodies obeyed. We sprinted toward the jeep, the cold air tearing at our lungs. Our flashlights bounced wildly across the clearing. Behind us I could hear the splash of long steps emerging fully from the lake. The whistle followed, still gentle, still mocking. We reached the jeep, nearly collapsing against the doors. "Keys!" Hannah gasped. I held up the ring with shaking hands. "Got them!" But relief lasted only a heartbeat. There was no point in using them. One of the Jeep's tires had been shredded, massive claw marks slashed through the rubber. Deep enough that whatever made them wasn't trying to sabotage us quietly. It was leaving a message. "Spare tire?" Hannah asked desperately. "It's gone," I whispered. "It tore it off. Look." The back of the Jeep hung crooked. The spare tire mount was empty. The bolts twisted like soft metal. Hannah pressed her hand over her mouth. "It doesn't want us leaving." The creature whistled again, closer now. We spun around. It stood at the far end of the clearing, partially hidden by the dark silhouettes of the trees. The moonlight behind it made its limbs appear even longer, like stretched shadows. "Mia," Hannah whispered shakily. "Fire. The fire scared it earlier, right?" I looked at the dying flames by our campsite. They flickered weakly, barely holding shape. If the fire went out, we'd lose the only shield we had. "We need to get back to the fire," I said. "We stay in the light until morning." "But the fire's almost gone." "Then we make it bigger." I grabbed Hannah's hand and pulled her with me. We ran back toward the campfire. The creature stayed where it was, watching, not chasing, not yet. When we reached the fire, Hannah dropped to her knees and threw in everything she could find. Dry sticks, paper wrappers from our food, a torn piece of fabric. The flames rose slightly, but not enough. I dug through my backpack. Fuel, fuel, aha. I pulled out Liam's camping stove canister, half full. "Mia," Hannah said, eyes wide, "that could explode." "It'll burn hot first." I twisted the valve open just a crack and placed the canister near the edge of the fire. Flames caught immediately, flaring bright blue and orange with a roaring heat. The clearing lit up, and for the first time, we saw the creature clearly. It stood fully exposed in the light, its skin a pale, sickly gray that seemed almost translucent. Water dripped down its ribbed torso. Its limbs were impossibly long, arms hanging nearly to its knees. And its face wasn't a face. It was smooth like stretched wet clay. Only two dark hollows marked where eyes should have been. The shapes weren't sockets. They were voids impossibly deep. It didn't blink. It didn't breathe. It just stared. The fire roared between us, the heat distorting its shape. Is it burning it?" Hannah whispered. "No," I breathed. "It's waiting." The creature took one slow step back into the shadows, letting the darkness swallow its form until only a faint, silvery outline remained. The whistle echoed again, but this time it came from behind us. We whipped around. Nothing. Just the forest. Just the darkness. Just the trees. Hannah grabbed my arm. "There's more than one." "No," I whispered. "It can throw its voice." "How do you know?" Because the whistle behind us was identical, too perfect to be natural. It wasn't two creatures. It was one, making us think it surrounded us. The wind picked up. The trees creaked. The flames sputtered. "Mia," Hannah whispered, "the stove canister is almost empty." The fire's bright roar began to fade again. "Gather wood," I said. "Everything you can grab." We tore through the clearing, ripping dead branches off fallen limbs, snapping sticks, throwing logs into the flames. The fire surged, but every time it weakened, the creature inched closer, watching, waiting, whistling. At one point, Hannah dropped a bundle of sticks and stumbled, falling to her knees. "Hannah!" She turned her flashlight toward the trees. Something crouched low behind a stump, too large to be an animal, its limbs folded like a spider's, its head tilted sideways at a grotesque angle. It froze in the beam of light. Then it slowly crawled upward, its joints bending backward as it rose to full height. The whistle that followed was soft, curious, almost playful. Hannah screamed, scrambling backward until she reached the fire's edge. I stood between her and the creature, holding a burning log like a weapon. "Stay back," I shouted. The creature didn't flinch, but it stopped moving. It stared at the flame in my hand, as if examining it, calculating. Then it stepped back into the shadows again. We retreated to the center of the clearing, pressing our backs together as the fire flickered wildly. Hours felt like days. The creature circled us, always just beyond the firelight, visible only as a shifting silhouette. Sometimes it whistled, sometimes it scratched its long fingers across a tree trunk. Sometimes it simply stood still, as if waiting for us to fall asleep. We didn't. We couldn't. At last, at long, painful last, gray light began to seep through the trees. Dawn. But as the sun rose, the forest didn't feel safer, because now in the daylight, we could finally see the tracks it left in the mud. Deep, long, impossible footprints that trailed from the lake into the woods, and among them, smaller prints, human prints, Liam's, leading deeper into Black Hollow Forest. Stories. 4. The early morning light should have been comforting, but the rising sun only revealed how wrong everything truly was. The forest was bathed in a dull gray haze, the lake mist curling along the surface like pale fingers reaching for shore. Hannah stared at the muddy footprints, her face drained of color. "Those are Liam's," she whispered. He walked into the forest." "Or was taken into it," I said softly. Hannah's jaw clenched. "We have to follow the tracks." Every instinct inside me screamed to run the opposite direction, to get as far from Black Hollow as possible. But there was no way out. The Jeep was disabled, no signal, no roads nearby. And Liam was either alive or dying somewhere in the woods. "We'll follow them," I said, tightening my grip on the flashlight. "But we stay close together. Don't wander. Don't look away for too long." We packed what little we had left: water, flashlights, a few granola bars, and the half-bent camping knife Liam had once used to crack open firewood. It felt pathetically small against whatever hunted us. The trail led straight into the trees. As soon as we crossed the tree line, the air felt different, heavier, colder, thicker. The forest swallowed sound. Even our footsteps were muffled, as if the ground itself was absorbing the noise. "Do you hear that?" Hannah asked. I listened. Nothing. No birds, no insects, no rustling leaves, just the distant drip of water falling from branches. "Why is everything so quiet?" she whispered. "Because it's still here," I said. We followed the footprints, weaving between the tall pines. The deeper we walked, the more warped the tracks became. The creature's prints were spaced impossibly far apart, as if it took strides twice as long as a person. Liam's footprints were normal at first, but soon they changed. The heel marks disappeared. The impressions became shallower, almost as if he wasn't walking willingly anymore. more like he was being dragged or guided. Mia, Hannah said suddenly, look. She pointed to a tree. Long, thin gouges ran down its trunk. Too straight, too deliberate, like knives dragged downward. No, not knives. Fingers. Then the whistling began again. Soft at first, drifting through the trees like a cold breeze. The same haunting, airy tune. The same melody Liam had hummed without knowing why. Hannah squeezed my arm. It's close. I know. We moved faster. The trail led us through a grove of dead trees. Bark stripped clean, branches twisted like grasping hands. The deeper we went, the more the forest seemed wrong. Trees curved unnaturally. Roots formed strange spirals on the ground. The air carried a faint metallic scent. Then we saw something ahead, a piece of fabric caught on a branch. Liam's jacket sleeve. I ran forward, snatching it off the tree. It was torn clean off, edges ragged, smeared with mud and something darker. He was here, I whispered. Hannah looked around with wide, terrified eyes. Then where is he now? The forest answered. A scream echoed through the woods, raw, distant, unmistakable. Liam. Liam! Hannah screamed back, sprinting toward the sound. Wait! Hannah, stop! I chased after her, branches whipping at my face. The scream cut off abruptly. Silence fell again. We slowed, breathless and shaking. Hannah spun in a frantic circle. What direction did it come from? Where do we go? I pointed to the ground. The tracks! We follow the tracks! But something had changed. Now instead of 2 sets of footprints, there were 3. A new set, small, bare, human-looking, walked alongside the creature's long, twisted prints. These prints were too perfect, too evenly spaced, as if whoever made them followed a rhythm. Hannah crouched down. Those aren't Liam's. No, I said. They're too small. So whose are they? The whistling answered. It floated from deeper in the forest. Lower, slower, as if whoever was whistling didn't fully understand how to make the sound. I tightened my grip on my knife. It's mimicking again. Hannah's voice trembled. Why is it doing this? To lure us. We pushed forward cautiously. The trail led to a narrow path lined with mossy stones. The trees arched overhead, forming a tunnel of twisted wood. It felt ancient, wrong, like something lived here long before people ever stepped foot in these woods. As we moved through the tunnel, the light dimmed again, even though it was still morning. Shadows thickened unnaturally. Then we reached a clearing, and my stomach dropped. There, in the center of the clearing, stood a stone circle. 8 large rocks arranged in a perfect ring. Deep grooves carved into each stone formed symbols I didn't recognize. Loops, lines, and spirals that hurt to look at. And inside the stone circle was Liam. He stood perfectly still, facing away from us. His posture was stiff, arms limp at his sides. His clothes were soaked, his hair matted with mud. Liam! Hannah cried, rushing toward him. I grabbed her arm, pulling her back. Wait, something's wrong. Liam didn't react, didn't move, didn't even flinch at the sound of his name. He just stood there, unmoving, unnatural. Then he slowly turned his head. Only his head. His body remained facing forward while his neck twisted far too far to the side. His eyes were wide. His mouth hung slightly open. Mia, Hannah, he whispered, voice hoarse, strained. Don't. His mouth kept moving, but the sound that came out wasn't his voice. It was the whistle, the same haunting tune, escaping from his lips like breath, leaking from a broken instrument. Hannah screamed. I stepped back, trembling. Liam lifted one arm. His fingers twitched. Behind him, something rose. Tall, hungry, wrong. Its long fingers rested gently on Liam's shoulders, like it was puppeteering him. Its hollow eyes locked onto us. The whistle grew louder. "You shouldn't have come," Liam whispered. Story 5. For a moment, neither Hannah nor I could move. The scene before us was so wrong, so warped, that my mind struggled to understand it. Liam stood motionless inside the stone circle, his body held upright not by strength, but by the long bony fingers pressed firmly into his shoulders from behind. The creature loomed over him, so tall it seemed to merge with the shadows above. Its hollow eyes didn't blink, didn't waver. They just stared straight into us. "Mia," Liam whispered again, though his lips barely moved. "Run." But then his mouth twisted into a stretched, unnatural smile, and the whistle poured out of him. Clear, controlled, too perfect. Hannah sobbed. "Liam, please, talk to us. Don't let it." The whistle stopped abruptly. Then Liam's voice changed. Low, hollow, layered, as if two people spoke at once. "You follow the trail." Hannah stumbled backward in terror. "That's not him. That's not Liam." Liam's head tilted unnaturally far to one side, like a doll's head loosened from its neck. "You came when called," it said through him. "You listened to the song." The creature behind him leaned forward, its faceless head drooping over Liam's like some twisted marionette master. Its fingertips curled deeper into his shoulders. Liam winced, or perhaps the creature made him wince. I could barely breathe. "Let him go," I whispered. The forest seemed to hold its breath. "Let him go?" Liam's mouth echoed, the inflection wrong, stretched. Then the creature straightened, lifting Liam off the ground by his shoulders as though he weighed nothing. His feet dangled, his boots dripping with lake water. "He came willingly," the thing whispered through him. "No, he didn't," I snapped. "You dragged him out of the tent, you—" The creature moved so fast I didn't see it. One moment it was behind Liam. The next it stood at the edge of the stone circle. Liam dropped to his knees like a puppet with cut strings. Hannah yanked me backward. "Mia, stay away from the stones. Don't go inside the circle." I hadn't realized I'd been stepping toward it, toward Liam, toward the creature. The thing paused at the boundary of the stone ring, tracing its long finger along one carved symbol. The grooves glowed faintly, soft like candlelight. The creature whispered in a voice made of wind and hollow spaces. "You do not know what these stones are." I swallowed hard. "Then tell us." It cocked its head. "A doorway, a place of crossing." "Crossing into what?" It did not answer. Instead, it raised its long, thin arm and pointed at Hannah. "No." I moved in front of her instinctively. The creature lowered its hands slowly, almost curiously, like it hadn't expected me to challenge it. Liam suddenly gasped behind us, falling forward onto his hands. The sound was so human, so raw, that it cut through my terror. We both turned. "Liam!" Hannah cried. He lifted his head, but his eyes were unfocused, pupils blown wide, face pale as death. "Don't touch me," he rasped. "Don't come closer." "Mia," Hannah whispered. He looks like he's freezing." I stepped close to the stone boundary, careful not to cross. "Liam, can you walk? Can you move?" He shook his head. Tears streamed down his face. It wants someone else. It wants—" He choked on his own breath. The creature answered for him. "One stays, one leaves." A chill cut through me. "What does that mean?" "Balance," it whispered. "Exchange." "No," Hannah said firmly, gripping my arm. "We're not leaving him here. We're not sacrificing anyone." The creature leaned forward, its hollow eye pits inches from the glowing symbols. "Choose," it breathed. "No," Hannah shouted, voice cracking. "We won't choose." But the forest itself reacted. The trees shuddered. Branches groaned overhead. The air vibrated with an eerie, pulsing resonance, like the entire woods were holding one long, agonized note. The creature extended one long finger toward Hannah again. "No!" I screamed, stepping between them. "Take me!" The world seemed to stop. Hannah's scream tore through the clearing. "Mia, no, don't say that! Don't ever say that!" The creature lowered its arm. The forest fell silent. It regarded me with a stillness more terrifying than any sound. "Mia," Hannah whispered shakily. "What are you doing?" "Saving you both," I said, though my voice trembled. The creature moved closer, but not to grab me. It hovered near the stone's edge, as if evaluating something unseen. Then with a slow, deliberate movement, it reached down and touched Liam's back. He screamed, a raw, piercing animal sound that tore through my chest. Hannah sobbed uncontrollably. "Please, please stop. We'll do anything. Just stop hurting him." The creature's hand hovered above Liam's spine. Then it spoke again. "Choose." I said take. A hand grabbed my wrist, not the creature's. Liam. His fingers dug into my skin weakly, desperately. He mouthed one word. "Run." My heart broke. "Liam!" He shook his head violently. Blood trickled from his nose. "Run," he croaked. "Before it takes both of you." Hannah clung to me, crying. "Mia, we can't leave him." The creature's whistle rose again, sharp, urgent, almost angry. The trees creaked violently. The ground trembled beneath our feet. The creature moved toward us. We stumbled back. "Mia," Hannah begged, "what do we do?" And then, from the forest behind us, a second whistle answered. Not the creature's. Higher, different, human. Liam's head snapped up, eyes widening in terror. "That's impossible," I whispered. Hannah's face blanched. "Then who?" The whistle came again, and again, closer, approaching, through the trees. Something else was coming, something whistling the same tune, but not the creature, and not Liam. Something else. The creature stiffened, its long limbs tensing. For the first time, it looked afraid. Story 6. The whistle coming from the forest didn't belong to Liam. It didn't belong to the creature either. This one sounded wrong in an entirely different way. Sharp, uneven, almost panicked. The notes cracked, like whoever was trying to mimic the melody barely understood how breath worked. The creature in front of us froze. Its long limbs curled inward, like a spider retreating from a threat. It lifted its head and listened. The new whistle echoed again. Closer now. Too close. "Mia," Hannah whispered, her nails digging painfully into my arm. "What is that? What else could be in here?" My throat felt dry. I don't know." Liam shuddered on the forest floor, his breath ragged. "Don't look at it. Don't answer it." The creature hissed, an eerie, breathless sound that vibrated through the stones at our feet. It turned away from Liam, facing the source of the approaching whistle. The forest darkened, not from clouds, not from shadows. It felt like something swallowed the light itself. A shape emerged between the trees. First just a blur, then a silhouette, then details. At first I thought it was a person, tall, thin, barefoot, clothes soaked and torn. But as it stepped forward, my stomach twisted. Its legs bent wrong, knees curving inward, almost buckling with each step. Its arms hung stiffly at its sides, fingers curled like dried leaves. The head twitched in sharp, unnatural angles, as if heavy and difficult to hold upright. It took another step, its foot dragging through the dirt, leaving a trench. The whistle sputtered out of its throat, wet, choking, off-key. Then the light shifted just enough for me to see its face. Hannah gasped. "No," she whispered. "No, that can't be." The thing stepped forward into full view. Its face was swollen, waterlogged, skin pale and stretched, the eyes clouded white. Its jaw hung slightly open, stiff, as if it had drowned. I recognized him, a missing hiker, one of the faces on the warning bulletin at the reserve entrance, the one that had gone missing 3 months earlier, the one whose body was never found. He was dead, but he was moving. "Mia," Hannah sobbed. That's... "I know," I whispered. "I see him." The drowned man stumbled forward, jerking like a puppet controlled by unsure hands. He whistled again, broken, strangled. The creature, the tall, faceless one, backed away from him. Fear. For the first time since we had seen it, it felt fear. The drowned man's head twitched sharply before snapping to us. His eyes, glassy, lifeless, locked onto mine. I stumbled back, heart hammering. "He's not alive," I whispered. "He's not himself." "Then who is moving him?" Hannah whispered. The drowned hiker lurched toward the stone circle. Liam screamed. The whistle from the drowned man cracked in his throat, twisting into a wet gurgle. He fell forward onto his hands, vomited lake water, then jerked back to his feet as if strings yanked him upright. The faceless creature hissed loudly, stepping between him and the circle. The two stood facing each other, motionless, silent, like predators assessing each other. Then the forest exploded in noise. Branches groaned. Wind surged violently through the clearing. The ground shook as if something was trying to push up from beneath it. And then the drowned hiker lunged, not at us, at the faceless creature. A guttural screech tore from his throat, nothing like a human voice. The faceless creature swung its unnaturally long arm, sending the drowned man crashing into a tree with a sickening crack. He crumpled, but he didn't stay down. He stood again, bones bending in ways they shouldn't. The faceless creature stepped back. The stone circle glowed brighter beneath Liam, symbols pulsing like a heartbeat. Hannah grabbed my arm. "Mia, what is happening?" "I think..." My voice shook. "I think they aren't the same. I think they're enemies." Liam coughed violently behind us. "Get away," he rasped. "Both of you, get away." The drowned man charged again, faster this time. The faceless creature raised both its arms, and the forest exploded in blinding white light. I shielded my eyes. Hannah screamed. Liam collapsed fully. When the light faded, the drowned hiker was gone. Not fallen, not running, simply gone. The faceless creature staggered back, its limbs trembling. It let out a low, rattling hiss, angry, wounded, afraid. It turned toward Liam, toward the stones, toward us, and then it retreated, not slowly, not calmly. It vanished into the forest with unnatural speed, melting into the dark like smoke. The forest fell silent, deathly silent. Only Liam remained, collapsed within the stone circle. We rushed to him. "Liam!" Hannah cried, lifting his shoulders with shaking hands. "Talk to us! Please, just talk!" He blinked slowly, focusing on us as though waking from a nightmare. "Mia, Hannah, we're here," I whispered, brushing mud and leaves from his hair. Slowly, painfully, he lifted his arm and pointed toward the trees where the creature had fled. "It's not gone," he whispered. "It didn't run because of us." "What do you mean?" I asked. His voice cracked. "It ran because something worse is coming." Story 7. Liam's words hung in the air like frost. "Something worse is coming." Hannah squeezed his hand. "Liam, what do you mean? What could be worse than that thing?" He shuddered violently, trying to breathe. I don't know its name, but the faceless one, he swallowed hard. It's afraid of it. I glanced around the clearing. The forest looked normal again, quiet, still, almost peaceful. But everything felt wrong. The air was heavy, buzzing with a low vibration I could feel in my bones. Hannah looked at the stone circle. We have to get him out of there. The symbols carved into the stones still glowed faintly, like dying embers. Liam lay across them, half conscious. Whatever the creature had done to him, it had drained something, pulled something out. I reached for him. Mia, Hannah said sharply, the stones. What if there's some kind of trap? I hesitated. Liam, I whispered, can you move? He barely shook his head. Can't. Feel my legs. Fear twisted in my gut. We couldn't leave him here, and we couldn't stay here either. I took a deep breath and stepped into the circle. Nothing happened. No explosion, no sound, no burning sensation, just cold, bone-deep cold, like stepping into the bottom of a lake. Hannah grabbed my arm. Are you okay? I'm fine, I said. Help me lift him. Together we pulled Liam to his feet. He groaned, leaning heavily on us. We have to move, he whispered. We can't stay in this clearing. Okay, I said. Back to camp. Back to sunlight. As soon as we stepped out of the stone circle, the glow faded completely, like the symbols had only been alive while Liam was inside. We didn't look back. The forest felt even colder than before. The morning sun tried to pierce the canopy, but the light seemed to dim as it reached the forest floor. Branches overhead twisted like ribs of a giant creature, caging us in. We moved slowly, Liam between us, half dragged. Hannah looked over her shoulder every few seconds. Mia, do you hear that? I listened. A faint sound drifted between the trees. Not the whistle, not footsteps. A distant hollow knocking. 3 taps. A pause. 3 taps again. I tightened my grip on Liam. Keep moving. We followed the muddy trail back toward camp, but the forest felt different. Paths twisted where they shouldn't. Fallen logs we passed earlier were gone. Even the trees changed shape, like the woods were rearranging themselves around us. Hannah swallowed. Are we lost? No, I lied. We just need to keep going straight. But inside, dread gnawed. The forest wasn't letting us go. We came across a shallow ravine, one we hadn't seen before. Water trickled through it, carrying leaves and bits of debris. Something caught my eye downstream, a piece of cloth wedged in the rocks. Hannah saw it too. That's a shirt, a familiar one. From one of the missing hikers, I whispered. Same color, same tear pattern. The knocking continued, closer now. Knock, knock, knock. Liam stiffened between us. Don't answer it. We're not answering anything, Hannah said. No, Liam rasped. Don't acknowledge it. The knocking grew louder. Knock, knock, knock. Then, a second knocking answered on our right. Knock, knock, knock. Something was communicating with each other, with us, or with the forest. I didn't want to know. We kept moving. When we reached camp, relief washed over me. Briefly, our tents were still there, the fire pit, the scattered gear, but it all looked older, like we'd been gone longer than just a couple of hours. Leaves were piled over the backpacks. Dew coated everything. The air smelled stale. Hannah frowned. Why does it look like no one's been here for days? I don't know, I said, but we need to grab supplies and... A branch snapped behind us. We spun. A figure stood near the tree line. My stomach turned to ice. The drowned hiker. His limbs hung limply, head tilted, eyes white and staring. His clothes dripped with dark, dirty water that pooled at his feet. He didn't move. He didn't whistle. He just stood there, watching. "Mia," Hannah whispered shakily, "I thought the faceless creature got rid of him." "I don't think it can be killed," I whispered. Liam weakly raised his hand, pointing at the drowned hiker. "Not him," he croaked. "Behind him." I looked past the hiker and froze. A second figure stood there, shorter, slumped, barefoot, face obscured by tangled hair. Then another, then another. Bodies, half decayed, waterlogged, emerged from between the trees, their movements jerky, twitching. Some crawled, some limped, some dragged broken limbs behind them, all whistling softly. Different tones, different rhythms, all wrong. Hannah choked on a breath. "There are so many." My heart slammed against my ribs. These weren't just lost hikers. They were the forest drowned, trapped, puppeted, and coming toward us. "Run," I whispered. "But Liam—" "I'll take him," I said, hoisting his arm over my shoulder. Hannah nodded, tears streaming. "The Jeep! Even with one tire! We can try to drive it. We can—" The knocking started again. All around us, louder, faster, closer. Knock, knock, knock. The drowned ones jerked violently at the sound, then began to sprint. Not walk, not stumble. Sprint! "Go!" I shrieked. We ran. Branches whipped our faces. Leaves tore beneath our feet. Liam stumbled but kept moving, fueled by terror. Behind us, the drowned shrieked in broken, gargled voices. And over it all, a new sound rose from the forest, deeper, stronger, a whistle so loud it shook the air. Not the drowned, not the creature from before. Something else, something massive, something that made the faceless creature flee, something that made the drowned obey, something older than the forest itself. We burst into the clearing. The Jeep waited, crushed, bent inward. Roof caved in, windows shattered, like something had stomped on it with enormous weight. Hannah screamed, oh my God, it's destroyed. We're trapped. Mia, we're trapped." The forest behind us roared, and something enormous stepped into the clearing. Story 8. The ground trembled as the thing stepped into the clearing. Hannah grabbed my arm so hard her nails cut into my skin. Liam sagged against me, barely conscious, and I couldn't breathe, because what emerged from the forest wasn't just a creature, it was wrong, impossible. Like the forest had shaped itself into a body, twisted roots for limbs, moss and bark for flesh, hollow pits where eyes should be. It stood at least 15 feet tall, hunched under the trees. Its legs were long, jointed like an elk's but made of gnarled wood. Its arms hung unnaturally low, ending in splintered fingers that curled and twitched with life. Its chest rose and fell in slow, shuddering breaths, creaking like old timber. But its head, God, its head was terrifying. A massive stag skull sat atop its towering frame, antlers tangled with vines and strips of dry flesh. Inside the skull, darkness shifted, moving like liquid shadow, and the sound, the whistle, low, echoing, not human, not animal, a hollow, ancient note that vibrated in the air, in my teeth, in my bones. Hannah whispered, "What is that?" Liam sobbed softly. "It's the caller. The caller." The name alone made my stomach twist. "It controls them," he rasped. "The drowned ones, the lesser creatures, all of it. They obey its whistle." As if on cue, the drowned hikers behind us fell to their knees, heads jerking toward the caller, trembling like dogs obeying a master. The caller raised its head. The forest fell silent. Even the wind stopped. It stared at us, or seemed to. The hollow sockets of the skull turned our way. Its whistle faded. Then slowly, deliberately, it lifted one massive, root-woven foot and stepped closer. The ground cracked. The air thickened. Hannah backed away, pulling me with her. Mia, we can't fight that. We can't run from that. What do we do? I didn't know. My mind was blank with terror. Liam's breath came in sharp, panicked gasps. Don't look into the skull, he whispered. Don't meet its gaze. Don't listen to... A sharp whistle cut through the air. The caller had blown through the stag's skull. The sound was unbearable, like glass shattering inside my head, like my thoughts were being pulled apart. I dropped to my knees, clutching my ears. Hannah screamed beside me. Liam convulsed violently. Branches around us shook, and the drowned ones rose slowly from the ground, heads twitching in unison toward the caller. Another whistle, higher, sharper. The drowned sprinted toward us. Move! I shouted, dragging Liam to his feet. The caller didn't move fast, but it didn't have to. It was pushing us, hurting us, away from the clearing, away from the jeep, back, into the forest. Hannah pulled me desperately. We have to lose them. We have to hide. We have to... A drowned woman lunged at her, clawing at her shirt with waterlogged fingers. I swung a fallen branch with every ounce of strength. The impact snapped bone, but the drowned woman didn't scream, didn't even react. She just kept reaching. Mia, Hannah cried, I'm trying. The caller whistled again, long, rising, commanding. The drowned surged forward. The forest itself seemed to close in, branches knitting overhead, paths bending, roots shifting underfoot. We ran blindly. Branches whipped our faces. Mud sucked at our shoes. Liam stumbled repeatedly, barely conscious, mumbling about the circle, about the symbols, about something we didn't understand. Hannah screamed again. There's no way out. There has to be, I gasped. Just keep going. We burst through a dense wall of ferns and stumbled into a ravine, steep, deep, impossible to cross. Behind us, the drowned ones were closing in, their wet, wheezing breaths echoing through the trees. And above them, the caller stepped into view. It whistled, tilting its skull downward, like it was examining prey. We were cornered. Hannah gripped my hand tightly. Mia, I don't want to die here. Liam suddenly spoke, weak but with urgent clarity. The stones. What about the stones? I asked. They protect against it. Against all of them, he breathed. That's why it put me there. It needed me inside to break the protection. The caller let out a low, rumbling whistle, like a warning. What do we do? Hannah cried. We can't get back to the stone circle. We don't need the circle, Liam whispered. We just need the symbols. He pointed shakily to the ground. Roots, rocks, dirt. I can draw them, he gasped. If I can stand, and if you can hold them off. A drowned man lunged, shrieking wetly. No time, I screamed. Then stall them, Liam shouted back. Hannah raised a broken branch like a weapon. Do it, Liam. He knelt in the dirt and began to trace shapes with trembling fingers. Ancient shapes, curved lines, angled runes, symbols that seemed to glow faintly even before he finished drawing them. The caller tilted its skull and whistled, furious this time. The drowned sprinted toward us. I grabbed the heaviest rock I could find. Hannah swung wildly with her stick. We fought like terrified animals, just enough to slow them, not enough to stop them. One drowned hiker grabbed my ankle, pulling me to the ground. I kicked, screamed, felt its cold fingers clamp onto my leg. MIA, Hannah cried. I'm okay, keep them back. Liam's voice rose suddenly. I'm done. Then activate it, I yelled. I need blood, he gasped. It needs a life to charge it. The caller let out a thunderous whistle that shook the trees. The drowned rushed as one. Liam lifted his hand, then hesitated. I don't know whose blood it needs. Hannah's eyes widened. We don't have time. Just do something. The caller stepped closer, shadow covering us. The ground cracked beneath its weight. MIA, Liam shouted. Choose! The drowned leaped. The caller reached out a massive, root-twisted hand. Liam raised his bloody finger toward the symbol, and the forest exploded in white light again. Story 9, the light swallowed everything. Blinding, white, violent. It roared through the clearing like a wave, ripping the world away for a moment. And when it finally dimmed, the forest looked different, quieter, still, almost frozen. The drowned hikers lay motionless, scattered around us like discarded puppets. Their limbs twisted, their faces slack. No movement, no sound. For the first time since the nightmare began, the forest felt empty. But my relief died the second I looked at Liam. He was still kneeling, hunched over the symbol he'd drawn in the dirt. His hand pressed into the center of it. Blood smeared across the carved lines, and his eyes were rolled back white. Liam! I grabbed his shoulders. Liam, talk to me. Hannah knelt beside me, panic cracking her voice. What happened? Mia, what's wrong with him? His body shook violently, like the light was still passing through him. His fingers dug into the soil. His breath came in short, sharp gasps. It took too much, he whispered through clenched teeth. I didn't know it would take so much. Take what? I cried. My strength. My sight. I can't see. Hannah slapped a hand over her mouth. Oh my God! Before we could process it, a sound cut through the air. A low groan, deep, heavy, alive. The caller. We froze. The creature still stood at the edge of the clearing. But something was different. It wasn't towering anymore. It wasn't looming or advancing. It was kneeling. Massive wooden limbs braced against the earth. The stag's skull hung low, antlers scraping the ground. Its body shook, once, twice, like a wounded animal. The symbol, Liam gasped. It hurt it, Hannah whispered. Then maybe we can kill it. No, Liam said quickly, fear tightening his voice. The caller can't be killed. It's too old, too rooted into the forest. But the symbol, he coughed. The symbol forced it to retreat. It broke its control over the drowned. I looked around. The drowned people lay limp, unmoving, like they had been released, but only for now. How long will the protection last? I asked. Liam swallowed. Minutes. Maybe. The caller rose slowly, its head lifting an inch. The hollow sockets of the stag's skull faced us. Even without eyes, I felt it seeing us, studying us, choosing. We have to move, I said, helping Liam to his feet. He winced but didn't argue. The stone circle. We need to get back there. What? Hannah stared at him. Why would we ever go back there? Because, Liam said weakly, the circle doesn't just protect, it imprisons. Whatever the caller wanted from me, it needed to break the circle to escape fully. If we rebuild it, if we activate the symbols properly, we might be able to trap it again. Hannah shook her head. Liam, you can barely walk. And the drowned hikers, what if they get back up? They will, he said. The caller let out a long, low whistle. The drowned twitched, then began to stir. Hannah's face paled. That's our answer. We need to go. We took off into the forest again, Liam between us. Behind us, the caller's heavy steps shook the ground. Not chasing, yet, but following, guiding, herding. The forest bent, paths shifted. Roots rose from the soil like hands trying to grab us. But we moved anyway. Branches tore our clothes. Mud sucked at our shoes. The drowned moaned somewhere behind us. Footsteps uneven but gaining strength with every second the caller whistled. Hannah shouted over her shoulder, "Why isn't it running? Why isn't it tearing us apart?" "Because we're going where it wants," Liam said grimly, "back to the stones. If we fail to complete the circle, it wins." "And if we succeed?" I asked. He hesitated. "We'll find out." We broke through the last line of trees and stumbled back into the stone clearing. It looked darker than before. The stones no longer glowed. The carvings were faint, almost dead. But I felt something in the air, like the place was holding its breath. "It's weak," Liam said, pulling away from us and collapsing to his knees beside the nearest stone. "Help me realign the markings. They have to be perfect." Hannah and I crawled to opposite sides of the circle, brushing away leaves, dirt, and moss to expose the ancient symbols. "They're cracked," Hannah said urgently. "Some of them are broken." Liam touched one cracked stone and winced. "It's been destroyed, but the binding can still work with 3 of the 4 pillars. Hurry." Behind us, the forest groaned. The caller entered the clearing. Its antlers scraped the branches. Cold air followed it like a wave. The drowned hikers shambled behind it, twitching in jerks, their eyes blank. The caller stopped at the edge of the circle, towering over us, whistling softly, almost eagerly. "Mia," Liam shouted. "The last one, finish it." I traced the final symbol, hands shaking. The carved lines hissed faintly with heat. The caller stepped forward. Its foot reached the outer ring. Hannah screamed, "It's coming in!" "It can't enter until the circle is complete," Liam shouted. "Finish it." The caller lowered its skull, the empty socket staring inches from my face. Breath like cold wind washed over me. It whistled. My vision blurred. My ears rang. My teeth vibrated in my skull. I felt my knees weakening, my fingers slipping. "MIA!" Hannah cried. "Do it!" I dug my nails into my palm and carved the last mark. The circle ignited. The woods exploded in white fire. The caller reared back, howling in a whistle so loud the trees bent outward. The drowned collapsed like puppets with strings cut. Liam fell backward, blood dripping from his nose. Hannah grabbed my arm. "Mia, what's happening?" The caller thrashed against an invisible barrier, trapped just outside the circle. Its limbs jerked. Its skull cracked along one side. Dark fluid seeped from the seams. "MIA!" Liam shouted desperately. "Do not step outside that circle." I didn't plan to, not when the caller's massive hand slammed against the barrier, inches from my throat. And then a second cracking sound echoed through the clearing, louder, deeper, behind us. One of the stones, the cracked one, the weakened one, splintered down the middle. The circle flickered. The caller turned its skull toward me. The hollow sockets widened, and it stepped forward into the circle. Story 10. The caller stepped into the circle, a place where it was never supposed to stand, a place meant to bind it, contain it, keep it from the living. But the cracked pillar had broken the balance. Hannah stumbled back, dragging me with her. "It's inside! It's inside, Liam! What do we do?" Liam stared at the splintered stone, horror hollowing his face. "This wasn't meant to happen. It can't enter unless—" The caller bent its towering frame, lowering its skull inches from Liam's face. "Unless the cage is broken," he whispered. A single whistle, short, sharp, burst from the creature's skull, and Liam flew backward as if struck by a massive force, slamming into a tree. "Liam!" I screamed. He collapsed into the dirt, barely moving. The collar straightened, its antlers scraping the tree canopy. The ground trembled with each breath it took. The air warped around it, vibrating like something alive. Hannah grabbed my hand. "We run! Mia, we have to run!" But something strange happened. The caller didn't attack. It turned toward me, slowly, deliberately. Its skull angled downward, hollow sockets locking onto mine as though it could see straight through me. Then, it reached out one massive, root-twisted hand, not to attack, to touch, like it was choosing, like I had been the point of this all along. My skin crawled, my mind buzzed with pressure. Images flashed across my eyes, shadows, forests, death, drowning, like someone had opened a door inside my skull and poured nightmares into it. Hannah screamed, "Mia, move!" I tried, but I couldn't. My legs refused. My arms felt numb. The caller's hand lowered toward my head, fingers curling, roots splitting, dripping with dark sap. I waited for the pain, but it didn't come. Instead, a voice, thin and strained, cut through the clearing. "Hey!" The caller paused. Liam stood shakily on his feet, leaning against a stone for support. Blood ran from his mouth, but he held something in his trembling hands. A stone fragment. One of the pieces from the cracked pillar. He dragged the shard across his palm. Blood dripped onto the soil, darkening it. "You want a host," Liam rasped, glaring at the caller. "You want someone to replace the thing you killed long ago. Someone to hold your voice, your whistle." The caller turned its skull toward him slowly. Liam lifted the stone fragment, letting his blood run down it, tracing the shape of an ancient rune etched on its surface. "You can't take Mia," he whispered. "You need someone already touched by your spell." The caller took one step toward him. Liam spread his arms. "I volunteer." "No!" I screamed, finally breaking free of the paralysis. Hannah grabbed my arm, holding me back. "Mia, don't! You'll die!" The caller tilted its head as if intrigued. Liam coughed, blood splattering the dirt. "I've already heard your whistle. I've already been inside your circle. You marked me, not her." The caller's massive frame loomed over him, shadow swallowing his entire body. Liam took a staggering breath, then slammed the blood-covered stone fragment into the inside of the circle's glowing lines. The effect was instant. The circle ignited in a violent, blinding flare. Like white fire erupting from the earth, the caller shrieked, not a whistle now, but a warped, ancient scream that shook the trees and sent birds exploding from the forest canopy miles away. Its limbs jerked violently. The stag's skull cracked further, dark smoke pouring from the fractures. Hannah shielded her eyes. "What's happening? What is he doing?" "He's completing the seal," I whispered. "With his blood, with a sacrifice." Light exploded upward, forming a column of raw energy around the caller. The creature twisted and thrashed, hands scraping at the invisible walls forming around it. And Liam stood inside with it, his body silhouetted against the brilliant light, hair whipping around him, arms raised toward the monster. "My eye!" he shouted over the roar. "Listen to me!" Tears blurred my vision. "Liam, get out, please! You and Hannah, run! Don't come back here! Don't let anything break the stones again!" "Liam, don't do this!" He smiled, broken, weak, brave. "It's okay, Mia. Someone has to stay. Someone has to finish the binding. Someone marked by it." The caller's shrieks grew louder, piercing the air like daggers. Its body collapsed inward, twisting into itself. Dark tendrils wrapped around Liam's legs, pulling him toward the center. He didn't resist. He stood tall, standing between us and the creature with the last strength he had left. "Mia!" he shouted one last time. "Live! For all of us!" Then the light swallowed him. A final, deafening whistle shattered the clearing. And then, silence. The column of light imploded, collapsing into the ground with a sound like wind being sucked inward. The forest stilled. The stones dimmed. The collar was gone. And so was Liam. For a long moment, none of us moved. The clearing smelled like ash and earth. The forest was dark again, quiet in that terrible way that meant something ancient had been disturbed. Hannah collapsed to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. I staggered to the center of the clearing, falling to the ground where Liam had stood. The soil was warm, but he wasn't there. Just a faint scorch mark and a carved symbol glowing softly beneath the dirt, flickering like a dying heartbeat. I fell forward, gripping the soil. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'm so sorry." The forest said nothing, but the silence felt different, lighter, emptier. The collar was gone, bound again, for now. We left the forest without looking back. The drowned hikers never rose again. Their bodies were still, empty. Whatever held them had vanished with the collar. We reached the ranger station at dawn, mud-caked, shivering, traumatized. No one believed our story. Liam was listed as missing. We told them he wandered from camp. We told them we couldn't find him. We told them everything except the truth. Because who would believe that a friend saved us by giving himself to an ancient forest god? Who would believe the whistle? Weeks have passed. Hannah moved across the country. I barely sleep. And sometimes, late at night, when the wind is still, I hear it, a faint whistle, low, deep, echoing through the trees behind my house. Not the caller, not the drowned. Someone else, someone familiar. And I know Liam isn't gone. He's guarding the stones now. He's the one keeping the forest quiet. He's the one warning me. Because sometimes the whistle changes, growing sharper, closer, urgent, like he's saying, "Don't ever go back." And I won't. But sometimes when the night is especially still, I whistle back, just once, for him, and the forest whistles in answer. The end. Welcome to Creepytalks. Story 1. The first message. The rain hadn't stopped for 3 days. It fell in thin, relentless needles over the town of Westbury, hissing against windows and flooding gutters. Everyone blamed the sudden storm on the shift of seasons, but Noah felt something different in it, something uneasy, like the sky was mourning Noah Reed. 21 sat on his bed staring at his phone. The screen lit his face in a pale bluish glow, reflecting in his tired eyes. The time read 2:14 a.m. He shouldn't have been awake. He shouldn't have been thinking about her. But tonight, just like every night since the accident, his mind circled back to Maya Bennett. 2 months had passed since her funeral. 2 months since the news spread. Shocking, sudden, impossible. She had gone missing during a late-night walk in the woods behind her house. By morning, people found her body near a creek, broken, cold, as though something had torn her apart. They called it a wild animal attack. Noah never believed it. Maya wasn't just anyone. She was the girl who laughed in libraries, who painted on her sneakers, who dared him to climb the tallest roof in town when they were kids. They grew up together, made promises together, promises of always. But he wasn't with her that night. He'd ignored her message at 11:42 p.m. "Hey, can we talk?" He read it. He hesitated. He moved on. The next morning she was gone. Guilt lived inside him like rust. So when his phone vibrated at 2:16 a.m., he didn't expect to see her name, Maya Bennett. "Noah, are you awake?" His stomach dropped. His lungs froze. His bones felt filled with ice. He blinked once, twice. He read it again. Noah, are you awake? That same tone, that same casual ellipsis she always used. His first thought, someone was playing a sick joke. He sat up straighter, his heart thudding in his chest. His fingers trembled as he typed. Who is this? The message sent. 3 dots appeared. Typing, typing, then it stopped. Noah swallowed hard. The rain pounded the window harder, like impatient fingers drumming. A new message arrived. It's me. I need your help. Noah's skin prickled. He couldn't breathe. He checked the contact information. Same number as before. No changes, no duplicates. He had deleted her number after the funeral because it hurt too much to see it, but there it was. Alive. He texted back. Maya died. This isn't funny. The reply came instantly. I know I died. Noah nearly dropped the phone. If you know that, then who are you? I told you. It's me. I can't rest. His hands began to sweat. He wanted to call the police. Call someone, anyone. But what would he say? Hi, I'm receiving messages from a dead girl? Noah's eyes burned. What do you want? For a moment there was nothing, just the hum of the storm and his panicked breathing. Then, you didn't answer me that night. You have to now. Noah stared at the screen, frozen. Then came another message. Longer, rushed. I'm still here alone. I can't see the sun. I don't know where I am. Everything is cold. Please, Noah, help me. His chest tightened. This felt too real, too desperate. He wiped his face, forcing himself to think rationally. If someone hacked her number, why now? After 2 months? Before he could respond, his phone buzzed again. Meet me, where we used to go, the tree with our names. His blood ran cold. There was only one place she could mean, the old oak past the woods where they carved N+M, always. But that was close to where she died. He typed, it's 2 a.m. No. The reply was instant. If you don't come, I'll never leave you alone. Something shifted in the room. The temperature dropped. The shadows looked darker. And then his phone rang. Her name flashed across the screen. Noah's entire body froze. He let it ring once, twice, 3 times. He forced himself to answer, hello? At first only static, then soft breathing. Noah? He felt every hair on his body rise. It was her voice, faint, echoing, like it traveled from far underground. Maya, he whispered, you didn't answer me. The voice trembled, thick with tears. Noah's chest cracked open. I'm sorry, he whispered. I should have answered that night. I'm sorry. It hurts. Her voice shuddered. Maya, what happened to you? Who? Static swallowed the line, a low whisper, unintelligible, hissed through. Then the voice returned, sharp, urgent. He's coming. Who's coming? Noah demanded. But the call ended. The screen went black. Noah sat still for a full minute, heart hammering, ears ringing. The storm raged outside, thunder rolling in the distance. He stared at his reflection in the dark window. Was he losing his mind? His phone buzzed. Hurry! Noah stood up, breathing hard. He grabbed his coat from the chair, tugged on his sneakers, and stepped toward the door. Where was he going? Why was he listening? Because despite everything, fear, confusion, disbelief, there was one truth stronger than all. He wasn't ready to let her go. Not then. Not now. He stepped into the hallway, the house dark and silent. His parents were asleep. He didn't bother leaving a note. He moved through the living room, unlocked the front door, and slipped outside. The rain soaked him instantly. The night air felt heavy, suffocating. He pulled his hood up and ran down the street, his shoes slapping against the wet pavement. He knew exactly where to go. Westbury Woods stretched behind the neighborhood like a sleeping beast. Tall, ancient trees filled with secrets. The same woods Maya used to love exploring. The same woods she never left. As Noah reached the trailhead, his phone buzzed again. "I'm close." His heartbeat quickened. He stepped into the trees. The darkness swallowed him. The forest floor was slick with mud, the air thick with pine and rot. Every branch creaked, every shadow twitched. The rain barely reached the ground beneath the dense canopy, but the sound of water dripping was constant. Like whispers, Noah kept his flashlight on, low, scanning the path. The beam flickered, weak and unreliable. His breath came out in sharp white clouds. Halfway down the trail, his phone vibrated once more. "Do you remember what we hid under the tree?" His hands shook. Years ago, when they were 16, they buried a little metal box under the oak, filled it with trinkets, letters, a Polaroid of them making stupid faces. He never dug it up. He typed, "Yes." "Why?" A moment passed. "Find it. Bring it to me." "To where?" "You'll know." Noah swallowed. What choice did he have now? The path narrowed, twisting through thicker trees. The storm above barely penetrated here. The silence was suffocating. His flashlight flickered again. Then up ahead, a dark shape rose through the trees. The oak, massive, ancient, its branches curled like arms reaching across the sky. Noah's throat tightened. He approached slowly, scanning the ground. The carved letters were still there. N plus M, always. The sight punched a hole in his chest. He knelt, pushing wet leaves aside. The soil was soft, easy to dig with his hands. Mud seeped under his nails, cold and thick. He dug faster, heart pounding. His fingers struck metal. He pulled the small box free. It was rusted, covered in dirt. He wiped the lid with his sleeve. Then footsteps, crunching leaves, slow, heavy somewhere behind him. Noah froze. "Maya?" he whispered. No response. The footsteps grew closer. He stood up, clutching the box. His breath quickened. He shined his dying flashlight toward the sound. Nothing. Just darkness. Then, his phone buzzed. "Run." A chill ripped down Noah's spine. He turned. A tall shadow moved between the trees. Wrong. Too tall. Limbs too long. Joints bending sideways. Noah's breath caught. He bolted. The forest exploded around him. Branches whipping, mud splashing, his heartbeat thundering in his ears. He could hear it behind him. Fast, uneven, inhuman. He didn't look back. His phone buzzed again, but he didn't stop to read it. He ran until the trees thinned, until he saw the faint glow of the road. Then, silence. No footsteps, no shadow, just rain. Gasping, Noah stumbled into the open and collapsed to his knees. He checked the box still in his hands. Solid, cold. His phone vibrated. "Thank you." Noah looked up, eyes wide. Another message followed. "You're not safe." Then, "Part of me never left those woods." Noah stared at the screen, drenched, trembling. His phone buzzed one last time, and part of him didn't either. A chill sank deep into his bones. The night had only just begun. Story 2. The box, Noah didn't go home. He couldn't. After the thing in the woods, the twisted shadow that moved like a broken puppet, he felt eyes everywhere. Even now, standing beneath the street lamp at the edge of the forest, he couldn't shake the feeling something had followed him. The trees towered behind him like a wall of black teeth. The rain had slowed to a whisper, dripping from his hood and soaking his clothes. His lungs burned. His entire body trembled. He clutched the small rusted box so tightly his knuckles turned white. The phone buzzed again. "Don't go home." Noah stared down at the message. His heart flipped. Why not? He knows where you live. Noah looked back at the forest. A cold wind pressed against him, as though pushing him away from the trees. Who is he? Maya, what is happening? Three dots appeared. Typing, then vanished, then returned. Typing? I don't know. I never saw his face. Noah's jaw clenched. He needed answers. Anything to make sense of this nightmare. Are you really Maya? A long pause. Yes, but not all of me. Noah's breath hitched. What does that mean? Part of me is still stuck. The night I died, I couldn't cross over. Something held me here. Thunder rolled far in the distance. Low, angry. What's in the box? Why do you need it? This time there was no immediate reply. The quiet felt like someone holding their breath. Then, open it somewhere safe, not outside. Noah looked around. The streets were empty. The closest building was the old bus station 2 blocks away, closed at night, but with an overhang where people sometimes waited during storms. It wasn't much, but it was better than standing exposed. He swallowed and started walking, sneakers squelching against the wet pavement. The town was asleep, houses dark, windows shuttered against the storm. The bus station sat on a corner, squat and silent. An empty bench waited beneath the metal awning. Noah ducked under it, grateful for even a little shelter. He set the box on his lap. His chest tightened. He remembered the day they buried it. 16, sunburnt, laughing, swearing they'd dig it back up someday, and remember how stupid and happy they were. He wished he could go back to that day, before everything broke. The rust had eaten through parts of the lid, but the latch still clicked. He opened it slowly. Inside lay a faded Polaroid of them at the summer carnival, grinning with cotton candy, a silver bracelet with a tiny star charm, a folded note, and something he didn't recognize. A ring, dark metal, simple but strange, etched with lines that twisted like vines. Cold, too cold, even for metal. Noah touched it. A shock tingled up his fingers like static. He pulled his hand back quickly. His phone buzzed. Is it there? The ring! Noah's throat tightened. Yes. What is it? He gave it to me. The night I died, Noah's skin crawled. Who gave it to you? I told you. I never saw his face. Did you see anything? Hear anything? Typing? Only his voice. And his hands. Noah shut his eyes, trying not to imagine. Why did he give you this ring? Because I wasn't supposed to leave the woods. Noah stared at the metal circle, his pulse pounding. What does that mean? Did he threaten you? Did you know him? The reply was slower this time. No, but he knew me. Noah's breath came uneven. What do you need me to do with it? Wear it. Noah's hand froze above the box. Why? So I can be closer, so we can speak longer. A cold knot twisted in his gut. This felt wrong. Maya, what if it's dangerous? I won't let it hurt you. Did it hurt you? A long pause. Yes. Noah's stomach dropped. Then why should I wear it? Because without it, he'll find you. He can smell the box. He knows it's open. Noah looked around the empty bus station. The street beyond was quiet, still, but suddenly every shadow felt alive. Put it on, Noah. Please. His fingers hovered over the ring. His instinct screamed, no. Every horror story, every urban legend, every warning in his bones shouted, do not touch it. But then he thought of her voice, the fear in it, the pain. What if she really needed him? He picked up the ring. The metal was icy, sending a shiver up his arm. The carved lines looked like roots, twisting and curling in a pattern that almost seemed to move if he stared too long. He slid it onto his finger. The cold sank into his skin. Instantly his ears filled with whispers, distant, layered, unintelligible. He clutched his head, gasping. Then, Maya, her voice not from his phone, From beside him, he whipped his head around. Nothing there. But he felt her, like someone standing inches away, breathing soft and cold. Noah. The voice trembled. Thank you. He stared into the empty air, heart racing. Maya, where are you? I'm between. Her voice flickered like a candle in wind. The sound made the air colder. What happened to you in those woods? He whispered. But before she could answer, a sudden crash echoed behind the bus station. Noah jumped, spinning toward the sound. Something had fallen, or someone. The darkness beyond the overhang was thick, but he saw movement. Slow, dragging, wet footsteps approached over concrete. Noah backed away, clutching the box. Maya? He whispered, voice hoarse. Is it him? Silence. Then, run. Her voice was faint. Terrified, Noah grabbed his phone in the box and sprinted away from the station. He didn't look back. He didn't want to see who or what might be emerging from the shadows. He ran across the street, slipping on wet pavement. The storm picked up again, wind howling. But behind him, footsteps echoed. Long strides, inhumanly long. He forced his legs to move faster. He ducked into an alley, pressing himself behind a dumpster, chest heaving. Rain dripped from the edge of the roof, cold and relentless. The footsteps reached the alley mouth, stopped. Noah held his breath. A tall silhouette stood at the entrance. Too tall, limbs wrong, neck bent at an impossible angle. The head turned slowly, searching. Something creaked, bone or wood, impossibly loud in the rain. Noah slapped a hand over his mouth, praying he wouldn't make a sound. The shadow leaned forward, jerky, unnatural. Then, his phone buzzed. The vibration echoed in the silent alley like a scream. The figure snapped toward him. Noah bolted, tearing deeper into the alley. The creature lunged after him, its movements clicking and cracking like twisted branches. Noah, this way, Maya's voice cried. He didn't know where she meant. Her voice came from everywhere, from nowhere. He burst out into the next street. Headlights swept toward him. A car screeched as the driver slammed the brakes. Noah leapt aside and tumbled into a puddle. The creature reached the street's edge, then stopped, recoiling from the light. Its body jerked backward, melting into the shadows. The car door opened. A familiar voice shouted, Noah! He blinked through the rain. It was Elena Carter, Maya's best friend. Her hood was soaked, her mascara smeared, but her eyes were wide with shock. What the hell are you doing out here? She yelled. Noah could barely speak. Elena. He looked back into the alley. Empty. Nothing followed. He climbed shakily to his feet. We need to go, he said. Now. Without asking why, Elena nodded and helped him into the car. She slammed the door, locked it, and peeled away down the deserted street. Only when they were blocks away did she speak again. Noah, what were you running from? He stared out the window, soaked and shivering, the ring heavy on his finger. He swallowed. A girl who died 2 months ago, he whispered. Elena's hands tightened on the wheel. Maya? Noah turned to her slowly. You've been getting messages too, haven't you? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. The fear in her eyes told him everything. Noah leaned forward, voice trembling. What did she tell you? Elena's lips parted. She said, her voice cracked. She said you're next. Noah's blood ran cold. His phone buzzed again. A message from Maya. He's getting stronger. Another followed. And now that you've opened the box, he can find anyone who knew me. Noah felt the world tilt. Elena whispered, What does she mean? Noah didn't know how to answer. Then another message came. Short. Final. No one is safe. The screen dimmed. The engine hummed. Rain lashed the windshield. Noah stared at the ring on his finger, feeling it pulse like a heartbeat. Somewhere in the distance, something screamed. Story 3, The Unseen Path. Elena drove fast, tires hissing over the wet pavement, wipers slashing across the windshield. Once or twice her hands trembled on the steering wheel, but she didn't stop, not until they were far from the woods, far from the alley, far from the thing that chased them. Only when they pulled into an empty gas station did she finally speak. "Noah, tell me everything." He stared out the window, watching rain slide down the glass in trembling streaks. His skin still crawled. His heartbeat felt uneven. He didn't know where to start, but Elena deserved the truth. So he told her about the text, the call, the oak tree, the box, the ring, the creature with broken joints. By the time he finished, Elena's face had gone pale. She hugged her arms tight around herself. "Noah, Maya messaged me 2 nights ago." His breath caught. "What did she say?" "She said she didn't have much time, that she was trapped. She told me not to go near the woods." Her voice shook. "I didn't believe it. I thought it was, I don't know, someone sick enough to fake her number." Noah nodded slowly. "That's what I thought too." Elena swallowed hard. "But I think I'm starting to believe it's her." Lightning flashed. The sky rumbled. Inside the car, the air felt too small, too charged. Elena lowered her voice. "There's more." Noah looked up. "She told me you'd open the box," Elena whispered. "And when you did, he'd wake up." A chill slid down Noah's spine. His phone buzzed again, Maya. "He's awake." Noah felt the ring pulse, slow, cold on his finger. Elena leaned close. "Who is he?" Noah stared at the message. He typed, "Maya." "Who is he?" 3 dots. "Typing?" Suddenly his screen flickered. Static, glitching. A new message forced itself through. "Not her." Noah's entire body went rigid. Then, "He is mine." Elena gasped. "Noah, turn it off." He tried, fumbling with the power button, but the screen wouldn't shut down. More messages poured in, rapid, violent. "You took what's mine." "She is mine. You cannot hide. I see you look up." Elena's breath hitched. "No, don't look." But Noah couldn't stop himself. He looked up. There, across the lot, beneath the flickering light, stood the creature. Long, jagged limbs, spine twisted, head cocked at a sick angle, soaked in rain like a silhouette cut from night. Its empty face stared straight at them. Elena slammed the car into gear. The creature stepped forward, unnaturally fast. The tires screeched violently as the car lurched backward and raced out of the gas station, nearly fishtailing on the slick road. Elena didn't slow down. Her knuckles were bone white around the wheel. She didn't speak. She couldn't. Noah looked back. Nothing there, but he didn't feel safe. He felt watched. He checked his phone. The screen was blank now, dead. The ring felt heavier. "What is that thing?" Elena whispered. Noah shook his head. "I don't know, but Maya said we can't go home." Elena nodded stiffly. "There's somewhere we can go," she said. "My uncle, he's eccentric, but he used to be a professor folklore. Occult. He might know something." Noah blinked. "You think this is supernatural?" Elena let out a shaky breath. "No, I know it is." They drove through endless sheets of rain, the world outside dissolving into gray. For a long time, neither spoke. When the storm thinned, they were already leaving Westbury, driving past farmland and abandoned properties, miles from anything alive. Finally, Elena turned down a gravel road. A single house sat at the end, small, wooden, its porch light the only beacon against the darkness. She parked. This is it. Noah hesitated. He didn't want to get out. He didn't want to step into the dark again. But staying in the car felt worse. They hurried to the door, rain pelting their backs. Elena knocked rapidly. For a moment, nothing. Then, the door opened. A thin man with silver hair and tired eyes peered out. His glasses sat crooked on his nose. Elena? His voice was gravelly but warm. Uncle Rowan, we need your help. I know it sounds crazy, but I've been expecting you, he said quietly. Noah's blood froze. Rowan studied him. His eyes dropped to the ring. You brought it. Noah stepped back instinctively. You know about this? Rowan nodded slowly. Come inside quickly. They entered the house. Warm, dim, smelled of old books and sage. Strange symbols hung on the walls. Circles, runes, protective charms. Rowan shut the door behind them and locked it. Deadbolt, chain, latch. Noah felt a flicker of safety. Sit, Rowan said, gesturing to a table cluttered with candles and notebooks. They sat. Rowan lit a stick of incense, muttering under his breath. The smoke curled in strange patterns. What do you know about the man in the woods? Noah asked Rowan, fixed him with a serious gaze. He is not a man. Noah felt his stomach drop. Elena swallowed. Then what is he? Rowan took a long breath. A harbinger. The word felt wrong. Heavy. They are ancient, Rowan continued. Older than language. They feed on souls, not by killing, but by binding, trapping. Maya, Noah whispered. Rowan nodded. He bound her, marked her. The ring is a vessel. Once worn, it connects you to her and to him. Noah stared at the metal on his finger. What does he want? Rowan lowered his voice. He wants what he always wants. Ownership. Noah felt sick. So he's claiming me now? Yes, Rowan said. And anyone who helps you. Elena went still. So what do we do? She asked. Rowan turned to Noah. You must decide, right now. Decide what? Whether to save Maya, his eyes darkened, or save yourselves. Noah's mouth went dry. Why can't we do both? Rowan sighed. Because to free Maya, you must return to where she died to face him, and harbingers do not surrender what they claim. Noah's heart stuttered. Elena looked horrified. No, we barely escaped. Rowan held up a hand. You escaped because he allowed it. He wanted you to bring the ring here. Noah's breath hitched. Why? Rowan leaned closer, voice low. To complete the bond. The ring on Noah's finger burned. He cried out and tried to pull it off, but it wouldn't budge. It seared into his skin, white hot. Elena grabbed his arm. Noah! Rowan slammed his hand over the ring and began chanting, voice fierce. The room shook, candles flickering violently. The burning eased. The ring cooled, but did not loosen. Noah gasped for breath. Rowan's face was pale with exhaustion. He's stronger than I thought. Noah looked up, trembling. How do we stop him? Rowan hesitated. There is only one way. Lightning flashed. The house creaked. You must find his grave. A chill stabbed Noah's spine. But he's alive, he whispered. Rowan shook his head. No, the harbinger is not alive. He wears the bodies of the dead like clothes. Noah felt bile rise. If we find his grave, Rowan continued, we can sever the bond, free Maya, and stop him from taking you. Elena swallowed. Where is his grave? Rowan's expression darkened. In the woods where she died. Noah stared at him. Of course it was there. Thunder shook the house. Noah clenched his shaking hands. Rowan leaned in. If you return, there is a chance Maya can cross over. And if we don't? Noah whispered. Rowan's voice fell to a whisper. She will remain trapped. Forever. and he will consume you next. The room went dead silent. Rain battered the windows like desperate fingers. Noah shut his eyes. He saw her smile, her eyes, her laughter. He thought of the message he ignored, the last one she sent while alive. Hey, can we talk? Noah. He opened his eyes. Elena was staring at him, afraid but steady. We can still walk away, she whispered. No one would blame us. Noah breathed hard. He looked at the ring. He felt the echo of Maya's voice, faint, pleading. Help me. He stood. Rowan nodded, grim but approving. Noah spoke. We go back. Elena closed her eyes, fear tightening every muscle, but she nodded. Rowan rose and disappeared into another room. When he returned, he held 3 items: a lantern etched with symbols, a small glass vial filled with black sand, and a dagger, old silver, its blade engraved with twisted runes. Rowan set them on the table. Take these, he said. You'll need them. Noah hesitated. What are they? The lantern will reveal what is hidden, Rowan said. The sand will weaken him, and the blade, he paused, is the only thing that can end him. Noah swallowed. Rowan leaned close, eyes sharp. But remember this. The room seemed to lean in with him. You may not all return. A chill spread through the air. Before anyone could respond, Noah's phone buzzed a message. From Maya. Don't come. Another followed, rushed, terrified. He knows you're coming. Then, run. Please, run. As Noah stared, a final message appeared. He's already here. The house lights flickered. Something scraped across the roof, slow, deliberate. Elena's breathing hitched. Rowan's face drained of color. Too late, he whispered. The scraping became footsteps, heavy, dragging, moving toward the door. Noah grabbed the dagger, hands shaking. The front door shuddered. Once, twice. Then it blew open. Cold night wind tore through the house, and at the threshold, silhouetted against lightning, stood the harbinger. Its head scraped the ceiling, joints bent backward, long fingers curled like hooks. It stepped inside. Rowan shouted a word in a language Noah didn't know, and the lantern's flame erupted into blinding light. The harbinger screeched, a sound like metal tearing flesh. Elena grabbed Noah's arm. They ran. Rowan stood his ground, chanting, forcing the creature back. Go, he roared. Find the grave. Noah hesitated. Elena tugged harder. Noah, we have to go. The harbinger struck Rowan. The professor slammed into the wall with a sickening crack. No! Noah cried. Rowan collapsed, unmoving. The harbinger's empty face turned toward Noah. Elena screamed. Noah clutched the dagger. The creature lurched forward, joints snapping, arms reaching. Noah, run! They bolted through the back door, into the storm, into darkness, into the unknown, and behind them, the harbinger shrieked, hungry. Story 4. The woods remember. The rain swallowed everything. Noah and Elena tore through the darkness, soaked to the bone, splashing through mud and leaves as lightning forked above the tree line. The storm seemed to scream with them. Thunder rolled like something chasing overhead. Noah, keep moving, Elena yelled, voice raw. He didn't look back. He couldn't, because he could hear it. The harbinger behind them, not running, not rushing, just walking, slow, steady, as if it knew time no longer mattered. Its limbs creaked with every step, bones grinding like wood under pressure. Noah clutched the dagger in his right hand, the ring burning on his left. His breath tore through his lungs, each inhale sharp and cold. Elena, where? He shouted. Back toward the old trailhead, she called. Rowan said its grave would be where it first claimed her. Noah knew. The creek, where they'd found Maya, But the woods didn't look the same anymore. The trails had twisted. Paths were warped, leading nowhere. Trees leaned like watchers with hollow eyes. The forest was changing around them, bending toward the harbinger's will. Elena stumbled over a root. Noah grabbed her arm, yanking her forward. The storm smothered their senses, sight, sound, breath. Branches whipped his face, mud swallowed his shoes, but they ran, and behind them, the harbinger followed a rhythmic, dreadful cadence, like a heartbeat, slow, relentless. Crack. A fallen branch dropped from above, shattering inches from them. The woods were helping him, closing in. Noah's lungs felt on fire. He could barely hear Elena's breathing over the roar of the storm. "We're getting close!" Elena gasped, lightning flash. For a moment the forest lit up, white and violent, and Noah saw it. The creek, shallow water cutting through stone, marking the place where Maya's body had been found. His chest tightened. Ice laced his spine. They stopped at the creek bank. Water rushed, dark, icy, swallowing thunder. Elena held up the lantern Rowan had given them. Symbols etched into its surface began to glow, faint against the night. "What now?" she shouted over the storm. Noah scanned the area. The trees bowed inward, forming a cage of limbs and roots. The ground there felt wrong, too soft, too black, too hollow. Noah lifted the dagger. It hummed faintly, reacting to the place. "This is it," he whispered. Something pulsed beneath them, like a heartbeat in the soil. Elena knelt, hands shaking, and poured the black sand Rowan gave them across the ground. It melted into the earth, sinking, as if the ground drank it. The creek went silent. The storm outside the glade muted. Even the harbinger's steps faded. Time seemed to stop. Elena's voice trembled. "Noah, look." The dirt in front of them began to move, breathing, rising, forming a mound. A grave pushed upward from below. Noah felt the ring sear his hand, white hot, and he cried out, falling to his knees. A voice flooded his head. A girl's voice. Maya. "Noah!" He looked up. Her voice came from everywhere. Water, wind, earth. "I'm here," he whispered, eyes burning. "This is where I died," Maya said. But her voice was not bitter. It was hollow, broken. Images flashed across Noah's mind. Maya alone in the woods. A tall figure watching from the shadows. The ring, forced onto her finger, sealing her fate. Her screams swallowed by the night. Elena gripped Noah's shoulder. "We need to finish this before he comes." But he was already here. A shriek like metal tearing stone split the silence. The harbinger stepped into the clearing. Lightning struck, white and violent, revealing its full form, tall as the pines, limbs multiplied, splitting, jointed wrong. Its face, empty, a hollow where features should be. Only darkness. The forest bent beneath its weight. Elena screamed. Noah rose, dagger shaking in his hand. The ring pulsed like a heartbeat, Maya's heartbeat. The harbinger raised one of its long arm-like limbs, and the ground tore open. Roots whipped like snakes, grabbing at Noah's feet. He slashed them with the dagger, silver cutting through wood with a hiss. Elena held the lantern high, its glow flaring. The harbinger recoiled slightly but did not retreat. Its many limbs stretched toward them, blocking escape, closing. "Noah," Maya whispered. "The grave." He looked at the mound of earth. "Dig," she urged. "Find his bones." Noah dropped to his knees and clawed the dirt with his hands, scrambling, fingernails tearing. The mud sucked at him. Cold and alive, Elena yelled. The harbinger surged. She hurled the lantern's light at it. The flames seared its skin. The creature screamed. Wood cracking, fire hissing, Elena shrieked, stumbling back. Noah, hurry! He ripped through mud and filth. Something hard surfaced. Bone. A rib cage, black and half vanished. The skeleton looked ancient. Wrong. The moment air touched bone, the forest screamed. A cyclone of wind tore across them. The harbinger writhed, twisting into impossible shapes. Noah! Maya's voice trembled. Cut his tether! Noah's hands shook as he raised the dagger. The harbinger lunged. Elena released the black sand vial, hurling the last of it toward the creature. It burst across its limbs, burning like acid. The monster screamed, roots retracting, limbs shrinking as the sand unmade it. Noah, do it! She screamed. He drove the dagger into the chest of the skeleton. The earth convulsed. The dagger flared in silver flame. A shrieking howl tore from underground, shaking every tree. The harbinger's limbs shattered, fracturing, splintering like wood under a blade. It thrashed, crashing against trees, tearing into earth, screaming in a voice that wasn't human. Elena took Noah's hand and pulled him back as the ground erupted. Roots flung soil skyward. The creek boiled, and then silence. A deep, terrible silence. The harbinger's towering form spasmed, flickering, its limbs collapsing inward. The shadows in its face dissolved, and then it fell. Not like a body, but like rotten wood turning to ash. Before it hit the ground, it was gone. Noah collapsed, muscles weak. Elena fell beside him, sobbing in relief. But the still breathed. Noah crawled back to it, heart pounding. The dagger lay in still glowing. Noah. Maya's voice floated, softer now, fading. You freed me. He felt tears in his eyes. He pressed his palm to the earth. Maya, I'm sorry. His voice broke. I wasn't there that night. I should have answered. I know, she whispered. I forgave you long ago. A breeze passed over them, gentle for the first time since this nightmare began. Warm. Elena sank to her knees, choking on a sob. Noah, look. Silver threads of light drifted upward. From the grave, from the earth. Dancing like fireflies, they spiraled, weaving, forming a faint shape. A girl. Maya. For a moment, just a moment, she stood before him, eyes soft, bright, no blood, no fear, just Maya, smiling. Noah! Her voice was clear, free. He reached toward her, but his hand passed through. Warmth brushed his fingers, like sunlight. Thank you, she whispered. His heart shattered and healed in the same breath. Maya? A tear slipped down his face. I miss you. She smiled. You'll be okay. Elena sobbed softly. Maya's gaze drifted between them. Take care of each other. The silver began to unravel, her outline thinning. No, wait, Noah whispered, but she only smiled and faded, a final whisper lingering in the air. Always. And then she was gone. The creek whispered quietly again. The storm began to lift. Noah knelt in the mud, staring at the empty space where Maya had stood. Elena rested a trembling hand on his back. It was over, or so they believed, because in the softened earth, at the edge of the grave, something glinted, a piece of metal. The ring, now blackened and cracked, lay alone in the dirt as Noah stared. It twitched. Once, like a heartbeat. Noah's blood froze. Elena, he whispered. She followed his gaze. Her expression collapsed into terror. No, she breathed. Noah reached out, against every instinct, to touch it. And the moment his fingers brushed the metal, a voice whispered, not Maya's deeper, older, hungry, not finished. The ground beneath him pulsed, the grave cracking. Darkness seeped upward, like ink in water. Elena screamed, the earth split open. A shadowed hand clawed out, grasping, pulling. Noah stumbled back, the ground collapsing. Elena grabbed his arm, dragging him away as the grave burst open, soil flying, ancient bones trembling. A second voice echoed from the darkness, distant, layered, inhuman. Noah, don't let him. Maya, faint, frantic. Noah, run! The ground roared open. The harbinger was not dead. Not yet. Story 5. The One Who Still Answers. The earth burst open. Noah and Elena staggered backward as black soil erupted like a geyser, spraying over the creek and tearing apart tree roots. The storm above roared back to life, winds shrieking, branches bending violently like they were trying to flee. Noah, move! Elena shouted. The shadowy arm clawed upward, fingers long as daggers. The grave pulsed, black veins spreading outward like a sickness. The harbinger was returning. Its first death had only weakened it. Noah felt the ring burn in his palm, searing through skin, branding him. He screamed, dropping it into the mud, but the ring didn't stop. It crawled toward him like a live thing, hissing, hungry. Elena grabbed his jacket and yanked him away, her voice cracking. Don't let it touch you! But Noah was staring at the grave, at the figure rising from it. The creature that had emerged before was monstrous. But this was something worse. Its body was reshaping, bones knitting, elongating, spiking through its back. Darkness coiled around it like smoke, forming a second skin. The harbinger's new face twisted, not hollow anymore. It had a mouth, wide, shrieking silently, like every cry it had ever stolen was trapped inside. The ring leapt from the ground onto Noah's finger. He screamed, images flooded him. Maya drowning in the dark earth, screaming, a hand clamping her throat. The harbinger forcing the ring onto her, binding her soul, sealing its claim. Noah clutched his head, crying out, Noah! Noah! Elena shook him desperately. He gasped, breaths quick and broken. The ring burned with a sick, dark energy. Unlike before, this was not Maya's tether. It was the harbinger's. It wanted him. The creature rose fully, towering, skeletal limbs wrapped in shadow. Its new face leaned toward them, cracking bones shifting beneath skin. A voice, scraping air like rusted metal. You cut my chain, so I take yours. Elena dragged Noah back. The lantern was gone. Shattered, the black sand was spent. The dagger lay somewhere swallowed by mud. They had nothing. Noah, we have to go, Elena sobbed. But the creature was faster. A black root shot from the ground, wrapping around Noah's leg. He screamed as it dragged him toward the grave. No! Elena grabbed his arms, bracing her feet into the mud, pulling with everything she had. The forest howled, wind pulling backward, sucking toward the grave like a vortex. Noah, Noah, she cried, but the darkness was stronger. Noah's fingers slipped from hers, Elena screamed, and he was pulled into the earth. He plunged into blackness. Soil closed above him. Roots lashed around his body, his lungs filled with dirt. He choked, clawing at darkness. He was being buried, alive, claimed. Suddenly, a hand grabbed his wrist. A soft glow pierced the dark silver threads, danced around him. Warm, familiar. Maya, he gasped, her voice faint, breaking. Noah, listen. He felt her pulling him, not physically, but through the ring, through memory, through soul. Noah, you can end this. He shook his head violently, choking on soil. I can't. I don't know how. You do. Her voice was gentle, urgent. That dagger, it doesn't destroy him, only severs. You must bind him, trap him, the way he trapped me. How? Take the ring. He glanced. The ring burned violently on his finger. And reverse the command. He didn't understand, but he trusted her. He forced his hand upward, through roots, through choking soil, lifting the ring. The darkness shrieked. The harbinger sensed it. No, it growled above. No! Maya's voice grew shaky, weakening. Noah, say it. What? What do I say? Maya whispered. I claim what claims me. The words hit him like a shock. He repeated, her voice cracking. I claim what claims me. The ring convulsed. Light erupted. Silver flame flooding the void, burning through the roots. The darkness screamed above ground. Elena watched as the earth glowed white hot. The harbinger froze, its limbs jerking violently. Trapped. Elena dug desperately at the grave with her bare hands, dirt flying, nails tearing. Noah, come back. Below, Noah kept shouting, I claim what claims me. The ring tightened, cutting his skin. Blood dripped. But instead of falling, it turned to silver. The harbinger roared, a sound that shook the world. The silver flame crawled up its limbs, binding it, chains of light wrapping around its torso, neck, jaws, forcing it down, back into the grave. The creature thrashed, but could not break free. For the first time, Noah felt its fear. Maya's voice trembled, fading. Noah, finish it. His throat was raw, but he shouted the final words. I claim what claims me. The ring shattered. Light exploded. The grave collapsed inward, like a sinkhole swallowing the world. The harbinger let out a final scream. Dragged underground, chains pulling, soul collapsing in on itself, until nothing remained but silence and Noah. He tumbled upward, bursting from the soil, gasping, coughing, collapsing into the creek. Elena grabbed him, sobbing hysterically. Noah! Noah! Oh my God! He coughed water, eyes wild, before finally meeting her gaze. It's over. She held him like she'd never let go again. The storm eased. The woods grew still. Noah felt something warm in his palm. He opened his hand. A small silver thread lay there, glowing faintly. Maya. Her voice whispered, fading. Goodbye. A breeze swept the creek. The thread dissolved into starlight. Noah bowed his head, tears mixing with rain. Elena hugged him, whispering, She's free. He nodded, trembling. They limped back through the forest. Roots retreated, trees straightened. The night grew quiet. When they reached the path, dawn was breaking. But something caught Noah's eye. On his phone, a notification, a new message from Maya. Elena froze, staring. Noah, don't open it. His hand trembled, but he clicked. The message contained only one line. Thank you, live well. Noah's breath caught. Elena clutched his arm, her voice trembling. She's really gone. He nodded slowly, relief and grief woven together. They walked toward the clearing where Rowan's cottage once stood, but it wasn't there. Nothing was. Only open ground, as if no one had lived there in 100 years. Elena swallowed. Noah, was she even real? He looked at his hand, at the faint scar the ring left. He thought of the grave, the screams, the light. She was, he whispered. They left the forest behind. For years, Noah dreamed of the grave, of Maya smiling beneath moonlight. Of her final words, he built a life, a quiet one, a hopeful one. But sometimes, late at night, his phone buzzed. Just once. When he checked, nothing. One night, years later, Noah received a text from an unknown number, just 3 words. Are you there? His blood ran cold. His heart hammered. He typed slowly. Who is this? No response. He blocked the number. Days passed in quiet. Then, He woke one night to the vibration of his phone. One notification. No number. Just a message. "I remember you." His hand shook. He typed, "Maya?" A moment passed. Then, "Not her." Noah's chest tightened. "Who then?" The reply came instantly. "The one you claimed." The screen flickered. The lights in his room went out. A cold wind swept through the dark. In the reflection of the black screen, Noah saw movement. A tall shape standing behind him. His phone buzzed violently. One final text. "You freed me. Now I answer." The air turned silent. Too silent. Noah slowly turned. The darkness was smiling. Welcome to Creepytalks. Story 1. The Room Behind the Wall. Oliver Morgan shifted uneasily in the massive Victorian mansion he had inherited after his grandfather's death. The mansion stood alone on the cold coastline of Northumberland, England, a towering ancient structure that groaned with every gust of sea wind. He had only lived here for a few months when the first scratching began. It always came at 2:17 a.m. Never earlier, never later. A slow scrape, scrape, scrape on the west wing wall, like nails dragging across stone. Oliver assumed it was rats, but rats didn't whisper his name, and by the third night, the scratching evolved into knocking. 3 slow taps. Tock, 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 almost polite, almost human. The west wing was the oldest part of the mansion, built long before the rest of the house. Sealed off for decades, Oliver remembered his grandfather's warning when he was younger. Don't go near the west wing at night. Some doors stay sealed for a reason. Oliver never believed in such things until the wall whispered, "Oliver, let me out." He froze in his bed. The voice was faint, muffled, but unmistakably real. Fear crawled under his skin. He grabbed his phone, stepped into the dim corridor, and followed the whispers. The west wing felt colder than the rest of the house, as though the walls drank the warmth from the air. The whisper came again. "Let me out." Oliver reached the wall. That night something new appeared, a thin glowing crack running down the plaster. He touched it. The wall was warm. Then it moved. The crack widened. Something inside was breathing. Oliver stumbled back in horror. Suddenly, his phone flashlight flickered violently, and a skeletal hand, long, bony, impossible, slipped through the crack for a split second before jerking back inside. Oliver sprinted to his room and locked the door. He didn't sleep the rest of the night, but he made a terrible mistake the next day. He started digging through his grandfather's old belongings. In a dusty wooden trunk in the attic, he found ancient property blueprints, old photographs of the mansion, a thin black diary, and a sealed envelope with his grandfather's handwriting. "Do not open the west wing." Oliver ignored the warning. He unrolled the mansion's blueprints. His stomach twisted. According to the blueprint, the west wing wall wasn't a wall. It was a sealed room. A windowless, doorless room that should not exist. His hands shook as he opened the black diary. His grandfather's writing filled the pages. Entry, 1964. "We heard crying from the soil when we built this wing. The workers begged me to stop." Entry, 1964. "Something took a worker inside the bricks. His scream still echoes in my ears." Entry, 1964. "We sealed the room. Whatever is inside cannot be allowed out." The final entry sent ice down Oliver's spine. "If the wall cracks, run." That night he didn't run. He listened. 2:17 a.m. The wall began to breathe again. But this time Oliver walked toward it. The crack had widened further. Dust fell like dead skin. The breathing was louder, hurried, desperate. Suddenly, thump! A loud bang from inside. The plaster bulged outward, the shape of a face pressing against it from the other side. Its eyes shifted beneath the wall, looking directly at Oliver. His blood froze. The face in the wall opened its mouth in a silent scream. Then, crack! A hand burst through the wall, grabbing Oliver's wrist with impossible strength. It felt like frozen bone. He screamed and pulled, but the grip only tightened, dragging him toward the wall, as if trying to pull him inside. A sickening voice hissed from within, "Let me out, or come in with me." In panic, Oliver grabbed a shard of wood from the broken wall and smashed the skeletal wrist. The hand recoiled, shrieking with a sound that didn't belong in this world. The wall began to collapse outward, breathing heavier, shaking violently. The mansion trembled, windows cracked, lights flickered, and then it appeared, a creature, tall, thin, starved, forced its way out of the crack. Its limbs were wrong, its bones bent at angles that defied nature. Its face was the same distorted face that had pushed through the plaster. Its mouth stretched into a smile that nearly ripped its skin. Its eyes were bottomless pits. It whispered, "Oliver, you freed me." Oliver stumbled backwards as the creature stepped into the corridor. Its movements were jerky, unnatural, almost insect-like. Its long fingers grazed the walls, leaving black marks. He ran, but the creature wasn't walking anymore. It glided, silent, smooth, predatory. Oliver reached the staircase. Before he could descend, something cold brushed his neck. The creature had appeared behind him, impossibly fast. He jumped down the stairs, crashing painfully onto the floor below. The creature leaned over the railing, head twisting upside down to stare at him. It whispered, voice cracking with hunger, "You shouldn't have opened the wall." Oliver ran toward the front door, the only hope of escape. But the mansion betrayed him. Doors slammed on their own, windows locked, hallways shifted, stretching unnaturally like a maze. The house was alive. His grandfather was right. The wall hadn't contained the creature. The creature had contained the house. Oliver sprinted up to the attic, the only place with a window large enough to escape through behind him. The creature followed, dragging its limbs across the floor with horrifying calm. When Oliver reached the attic, he barricaded the door and grabbed the diary. He frantically flipped pages. There was no way to kill the creature. No ritual, no escape. Only one horrifying sentence. If you open the wall, the house becomes its body. As Oliver read the words, the attic floor shifted beneath him, rising and falling like a living chest, breathing. He turned toward the door. It was no longer a door. It was a gaping, fleshy opening, like a mouth. The creature stepped through it, smiling. Its shadow engulfed him. It whispered in of death, "Side me now." The attic lights went out. Oliver's scream echoed through the mansion, and then nothing. The west wing wall sealed itself again. The house returned to silence until the next heir arrived. And at exactly 2:17 a.m., the scratching began once more. Story 2. The Last Passenger of Hawkins' Train. The night train to Hawkins Village was almost empty. Only 4 dim lights flickered in the quiet passenger coach. Cold air seeped in through the cracked windows. The forest outside was pitch black, as if the world beyond the glass had been swallowed by something alive. Adrian Blake, a 29-year-old journalist from Bristol, sat alone with his backpack and camera. He was on his way to investigate a rumor. The old Hawkins line had been shut down for years after several disappearances. Yet tonight, for reasons nobody understood, the train had started running again. Adrian was the only passenger. The train rattled forward with a metallic groan. The lights flickered rhythmically. The only sound was the clacking of wheels on old steel tracks. At least, that's what he thought. 30 minutes into the journey, he heard footsteps. Slow, dragging, like someone walking barefoot down the aisle. Adrian turned. No one was there. He swallowed hard and leaned back. "It's just nerves," he whispered. But the footsteps came again, this time closer. And then he saw it. A shadow at the far end of the coach. Tall, thin, unmoving. Adrian squinted. "Hello? Are you a passenger?" The shadow didn't respond. It simply stood there, swaying slightly, as though breathing. A cold chill crawled up Adrian's spine. He stood slowly from his seat. "Sir, are you all right?" He took one step forward. The shadow took one step backward, as if mocking him. Adrian reached for his flashlight and shone it toward the figure. There was no one, just an empty aisle. He exhaled shakily, but as he sat back down, every hair on his body stood on end. Someone was breathing behind. Slow exhale, warm, wet, unmistakably human. Adrian turned in one swift motion. No one was there. The seat behind him was empty, but the smell of rotting earth lingered in the air. He stood up again. Something was very wrong. The train slowed suddenly, screeching metal echoing through the coach. When it stopped, Adrian looked out the window. They were still in the middle of the forest. No station, no lights, nothing. Just endless trees. He tapped the glass nervously. Then he saw movement between the trees. A pale figure running parallel to the train. Fast. Too fast to be human. Adrian stumbled back from the window, heart pounding. The train shuddered violently as if something had slammed into the side. And then the lights went out. Blackness swallowed the coach. Adrian fumbled for his phone. No signal, no light, only darkness. Then he heard it. Footsteps. Inside the train, soft, barefoot, slow, coming straight toward him. Adrian backed up until he hit the wall. Something in the dark breathed inches from his face. A dry whisper followed. "You're the last one left." Adrian's heart thundered. "What? Who's there?" The voice whispered again. "You shouldn't have boarded this train." He could feel cold fingers brushing his neck, but when he swung wildly with his flashlight, the coach was empty. The train lights flickered back on, and Adrian froze. A woman now sat across from him. She hadn't been there moments ago. Her dress was tattered, soaked with mud. Her long black hair hung over her face. Her arms were unnaturally thin. The skin stretched tight like parchment. "Ma'am," Adrian whispered. The woman didn't move. Her head hung downward, hair covering her features. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" The woman raised her head. Slowly, and Adrian's stomach turned. Her eyes were gone, just empty, black sockets. Her mouth stretched unnaturally wide, ripping at the corners until her cheeks began to bleed. In a voice that sounded like bones scraping glass, she whispered, "You shouldn't have taken this train." Adrian stumbled backward, falling over the seat. The woman stood. Her neck cracked loudly as her head cocked to one side. Suddenly, the train lurched forward with violent speed. Too fast, dangerously fast. The windows rattled. The metal screamed. The forest became a blur. Adrian grabbed onto a pole, terrified it might derail. The woman tilted her head again, studying him with her hollow eyes. Her voice came out in a chorus of whispers, as if dozens of voices spoke through her. "We all boarded once. We all thought we'd reach Hawkins Village, but Hawkins Village never comes." Adrian backed away slowly. "What do you mean?" A smile tore across her face, too wide to be human. This train doesn't take you to a place. It takes you to something. The coach lights crackled again. The aisle grew darker, as if consumed by shadows. A shape moved far behind the woman, crawling on the ceiling like a giant spider. Adrian clasped his mouth to keep from screaming. The woman snapped her head toward the creature. Her voice dropped to a demonic whisper. They smell you. Adrian bolted toward the next coach. He slammed the connecting door behind him and found himself staring at something impossible. The next coach was filled entirely with passengers, dozens of them, all sitting silently, all wearing clothes from different decades. 1940s uniforms, 1950s dresses, 1970s jackets. Their skin was pale gray. Their eyes were hollow. They sat perfectly still, like mannequins. Adrian stepped closer, trembling. Hello? Can any of you hear me? None moved. Then a tiny sound escaped from the back row. A whisper, barely audible. Run! Adrian froze. The whisper came again. They're not passengers anymore. Run! Suddenly, every single passenger turned their head toward him in perfect unison all at once, their necks cracking in sickening harmony. Dozens of hollow eyes stared at him. Then their mouths opened, wider, wider, splitting their cheeks, their jaws dangling. A deep, guttural moan filled the coach. Adrian stumbled backward, slamming the door shut. The train jolted violently, nearly throwing him off his feet. He sprinted to the front coach, the operator's cabin. He pounded on the door. Stop the train, please! No answer. He pushed the door open and screamed. The operator was dead. His face was frozen in terror. His eyes were missing. His hands clenched the controls. The train was moving faster than any train should. The speed gauge maxed out, vibrating. Adrian tried pulling the emergency brake. It didn't work. He hit every switch, every lever. Nothing. Then the dead operator's head turned slowly toward him. Adrian stumbled back. The corpse whispered, "It's too late to get off." The train screeched as it entered a pitch-black mountain tunnel. Total darkness swallowed the windows. Adrian ran back into the passenger coach and stopped dead. They were all there. The hollow-eyed passengers, the crawling creature, the eyeless woman, the shadows, all staring at him. The woman stepped forward. Her voice echoed from everywhere at once. "You're the last passenger now, and the train must feed." The caretaker creature dropped from the ceiling, long limbs, cracked bones, skull twisted in several directions. It crawled toward him with terrifying speed. Adrian ran, but the aisle stretched unnaturally, the coach elongating endlessly. He couldn't reach the door. He couldn't escape. He screamed as cold hands grabbed his arms, his legs, his face, and the woman whispered one final time, "Hawkins' train takes passengers. It never returns them." The train burst out of the tunnel. Empty, silent, it slowed by itself, came to a gentle stop in the middle of the forest, just like before. The doors opened. A thick fog rolled inside. The train waited for its next passenger at exactly 2:17 a.m. Story 3, The House That Follows You. Evelyn Rose Lockhart was not the type to believe in curses or haunted places. She was a 27-year-old architect from Denmark, practical and skeptical by nature. But everything changed the day she discovered the small, abandoned house on the outskirts of Marwick, Scotland. She wasn't looking, it found her. Evelyn had been driving through mist-covered roads, inspecting potential renovation sites for her firm. The fog grew thicker, swallowing the trees and hiding the path. When she realized she was lost, she slowed down. That's when she saw it, a small, crooked house hidden between dead trees. Not on any map, not visible from the main road. Yet somehow, waiting. Its wooden frame was warped. Its roof sagged like something inside was too heavy. The windows were black, as if the house had no interior at all. And yet, Evelyn felt something watching her from behind the glass. She told herself it was just her imagination, but curiosity pulled her out of the car. The air around the house was unnaturally cold, the grass dead, the soil blackened. Evelyn took a step forward, and the front door opened, on its own, just an inch, just enough to invite her in. "Hello," Evelyn called out. Her voice felt small, swallowed by the silence. No answer. She pushed the door open completely. The house was empty. A single room with wooden floors, a small window, and a staircase leading nowhere. It felt wrong, like the inside was larger than the outside. She walked slowly, feeling the floor creak beneath her. There was a picture frame on the wall, dusty, crooked, old. She wiped the glass with her sleeve, and her picture showed the same house she was standing in. But in the picture, someone was standing in the doorway, a tall man with no face. Evelyn jerked back, her heart slammed in her chest. She turned toward the doorway. It was empty. She forced a laugh. "Okay, enough. I'm leaving." When she stepped outside, the door slammed behind her with a violent bang. She didn't look back. She got in her car. She drove away. But 10 minutes later, the fog thickened again, and she saw it, the same house, the same dead trees standing in front of her. Her heart stopped. How is it here again? She drove past it as fast as she could. Another 10 minutes. The fog shifted. The house appeared again, closer, as if it had moved. Evelyn's breath trembled. "No, this is impossible." She sped up, desperate to get away. She didn't look at her rearview mirror, but she heard something behind her. Footsteps, not human footsteps, heavy ones, like something huge was walking slowly, steadily, following her car. She reached the main road at last. Streetlights, civilization, safety. She exhaled in relief and drove home. But that night, Evelyn had the first nightmare. She dreamed she was inside the house, standing in the doorway, and the faceless man from the picture was standing behind her. His fingers long, cold, resting on her shoulders, he whispered, "You opened my door. Now I open yours." Evelyn woke screaming, drenched in sweat. She ran to her living room to splash her face with water. Instead, she froze. Her front door, which she had locked, was standing wide open. A cold breeze drifted inside, and there on the floor was black dirt, the same kind that surrounded the house. Evelyn's hands shook violently. She grabbed her phone and called her friend Noah Bennett, a photographer from Germany. "Noah, please come. Something's wrong." She didn't tell him about the house. Not yet. He arrived within an hour. They checked the entire house. Nothing. Everything was normal. Noah tried to calm her. "It was probably the wind. You're stressed. You said you saw something strange while driving." Evelyn didn't answer. She couldn't, because right behind Noah, outside the window, she saw it, the house, standing across the street, watching. "Noah, get away from the window." He turned confused. "What?" "Evelyn, there's nothing." But she had already backed away, trembling. Noah stared outside. "It's just a normal night. There's nothing." The street lamp flickered, and for a split second, he saw it too. The crooked roof, the dark windows, the dead ground beneath it, and a tall, faceless man standing in the open doorway. Noah stumbled back, eyes wide. "What the hell was that?" Evelyn grabbed his arm. "It followed me." Noah was shaking. "Houses don't move, Evelyn." This one does. They watched the window for several minutes. When the light flickered again, the house was gone. Noah tried to convince her to stay with him for the night. She agreed. They left her house and drove to his apartment. It was quiet there, warm, safe. For the first time, Evelyn started to relax. But around 3 a.m., Noah nudged her awake. Evelyn, listen. There was a sound at first faint, barely audible, then louder. Wood creaking, like floorboards. Footsteps from upstairs. But Noah lived on the top floor. There was no upstairs. They looked at each other. The footsteps grew heavier, slow, deliberate, dragging. Then, a loud knock from the ceiling. Evelyn whispered, voice breaking, "It found me again." Noah grabbed his camera and flashlight. "Stay here, don't move." He climbed onto a chair and pushed open the attic hatch. His flashlight barely cut through the darkness. "Noah, don't!" Evelyn begged. He lifted the flashlight higher and froze. The attic was not an attic anymore. It was a room, wooden floors, black windows, a crooked frame on the wall. It was the interior of the house. The house had grown into Noah's apartment. "Noah, come down!" Evelyn screamed. But it was too late. The faceless man appeared behind Noah, long, fingers stretching toward him. Noah's flashlight fell. His scream was cut short, silenced. Evelyn didn't breathe. Then a hand, pale, long, wrong, reached down from the attic opening. Reaching for her, Evelyn ran. She fled down the stairs, sprinting into the night. She didn't stop until she reached an abandoned bus stop miles away. Her clothes soaked with sweat, her lungs burning, her mind shattering. She stayed there until sunrise. When she finally looked up, her heart died. The house stood across the road, closer than before, waiting. The front door slowly creaked open, inviting her. Evelyn dropped to her knees, sobbing hysterically. "Please, leave me alone." A whisper crawled across the wind deep, cold, hungry. "You entered my house. Now my house enters you." The ground beneath her trembled. Cracks spread across the asphalt, forming outlines. Outlines of walls, doors, a roof. The house was spreading, growing beneath her feet. The world around her twisted. The sky darkened, and Evelyn felt herself falling, not into a hole, into a room. The same room from the picture. She landed on cold wooden floorboards. She tried to stand, but the faceless man stood right behind her. His presence crushed the air. His voice entered her mind like a blade. "My house will follow you until you become part of it." Her scream echoed through the wooden walls, until it became part of them, forever. The house vanished from the road, ready to follow someone else, someone who dared to open its door. Story 4. The Voice Under the Bed. Mason Doyle, a 31-year-old paramedic from Manchester, had seen enough death and tragedy to make most people crumble. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared him for what happened the night he moved into his new apartment in Oslo, Norway. It was a simple place, small, quiet, perfect for a fresh start. After a long day of unpacking, Mason crawled into bed exhausted. Around 1:40 a.m., he finally drifted into sleep. Then at exactly 2:17 a.m., he woke up. Not suddenly, not violently, just awake. The room was silent, too silent, the kind of silence that feels like a held breath. He blinked groggily and rolled onto his side. Then he heard it, a voice, soft, whispering, and it was coming from under his bed. "Mason, are you awake?" His blood froze instantly. He jerked up, heart hammering violently. Who said that? He stared at the dark space beneath his bed. Nothing but a black void. He grabbed his phone, turning on the flashlight. "Mason," The voice whispered again. Come down here. He nearly dropped his phone. There was someone, or something, under his bed. He forced himself to speak, though his voice trembled. Who's under there? Silence. Then a crackling laugh. Low, rasping, wrong. Mason scrambled backward, stumbling off the bed and pressing against the far wall. He pointed the flashlight at the floor. Nothing. Empty. Just darkness. I'm losing my mind. But he wasn't. Came again, now right beside his ear. Don't ignore me. Mason screamed and swung wildly. But there was no one. He backed into the corner, shaking. His paramedic training told him to stay calm. His instincts told him to run. His body wouldn't move. Minutes passed. The whisper went silent. Eventually, Mason climbed back onto the bed, this time with his feet pulled tightly under him. He waited. No sound. Finally, exhaustion dragged him into sleep. But the nightmare that followed was worse than reality. He dreamed of a man, painfully thin, pale, crawling under a bed in a pitch-black room. The man whispered his name over and over in a voice like broken glass. Mason, Mason, Mason. The man turned his head in the dream. He had no eyes, only a stretched, hollow mouth. The whisper crawled out. I am under your bed. Mason shot awake, drenched in sweat. He looked over the edge of the bed and saw a hand. A long, bony, gray hand slowly pulling back under the frame, as if it sensed he was watching. Mason screamed and jumped off the bed, racing out of the bedroom. He slammed the door shut behind him. His breathing was ragged. He grabbed his phone, dialed his colleague and closest friend, Lucas Reed from Ireland. Lucas, you have to come. There's someone in my apartment. Lucas arrived within 20 minutes, banging on the door. Mason let him in, shaking violently. What happened? Are you hurt? Lucas asked. There's someone under my bed, Mason rasped. It spoke to me. Lucas frowned. Look, you've been stressed since the move. Maybe you heard a neighbor or a dream or... No, Mason snapped. It said my name. It laughed. I saw its hand. Lucas sighed and walked into the bedroom. I'll check. Don't... Mason tried to stop him, but Lucas was already kneeling. He lifted the sheet hanging off the bed. His flashlight illuminated only empty space. Lucas exhaled. See? There's nothing. Then the whisper came, soft, cold, from directly beneath the bed. Hello, Lucas. Lucas froze. The color drained from his face. He looked at Mason. You heard that, right? Before Mason could answer, a hand shot out from under the bed, grabbing Lucas by the ankle and dragging him violently toward the darkness beneath the frame. Lucas screamed as his body slammed onto the floor. Help! Mason! Help! Mason grabbed Lucas's arms and pulled with every ounce of strength. Something beneath the bed was pulling harder. Much harder. Lucas's nails scraped the floor as he screamed in animalistic terror. Mason! It's pulling me in! Please! Mason pulled. Sweat poured down his face. He screamed, muscles burning. Then abruptly, the force stopped. Lucas lay trembling on the floor, gasping for breath. The whisper came again, deeper, hungry. 2? I have 2 now. The bedroom door slammed shut with immense force. Throwing both men backward, Mason grabbed Lucas's arm. We're leaving now. They raced toward the front door. Locked. Mason had not locked it. They tried the window stuck. They shoved, slammed, kicked. Nothing opened. The apartment felt alive, as if the walls were sealing them in. Mason, Lucas whispered, voice breaking. What is this place? Before he could answer. Lights flickered. The whisper traveled across the room like a crawling shadow. Come back to bed, Mason. And then from beneath the couch, Lucas, come hide with me. They both backed into the kitchen. Lucas covered his ears. "Make it stop. Please make it stop." A low scraping sound began, like fingernails dragging across wood. Slow, deliberate. It moved along the floor, toward them. Mason grabbed a kitchen knife. Suddenly the lights shut off. Darkness swallowed everything. The scraping grew louder, closer. Then the voice whispered between them, inches away. "You don't need the light to see me." Lucas sobbed. Mason whispered, "Please." "What do you want?" There was a long moment of silence. Then, "Company." A cold hand brushed Mason's ankle. He screamed and jumped back. Lucas tripped over a chair, falling to the floor. Suddenly, the darkness beneath Lucas seemed to open, like a black hole, an impossible void. Hands, dozens of them, pale and bony, shot out and clamped onto Lucas's arms, legs, and face. Lucas screamed a blood-curdling scream. "Mason! Help me! Please! Mason!" Mason lunged forward to grab him, but Lucas was sucked beneath the floor in a split second. Gone. Silence. Only one whisper remained. "One I have one now." Mason collapsed to his knees, trembling violently. He sobbed into his hands. Then the whisper grew louder, circling him. "Come under the bed, Mason. I saved a place for you." The bedroom door creaked open slowly. The bed waited inside, darkness pouring from beneath it. Mason backed away, shaking uncontrollably. "No, no, please." The whisper filled the entire apartment. "Come, down, here." And then, a face appeared from beneath the bed, upside down, pale, mouth stretched open, eyes black as tar, smiling. Sleep under here happened. No voice, no creature, just an empty apartment, but the underside of Mason's bed was warm, as if something had just crawled back inside. Mason refused to return. He never went back for his belongings. He moved to another country. But every night at 2:17 a.m., no matter where he sleeps, a whisper comes from beneath his bed. "Mason, I'm still here." Story 5. The Lantern Man of Blackwood Forest. Elena Markovic, a wildlife researcher from Serbia, had survived storms, wolves, and weeks alone in the wilderness. She believed in a forest could scare her. Blackwood Forest in northern Canada proved her wrong on the very first night. She came to study the behavior of nocturnal animals for her research team in Toronto. Blackwood was remote, silent, and nearly untouched by humans, exactly what she needed. She set up camp near a frozen lake, her tent zipped safely, her equipment stored, her fire crackling warmly. At midnight, she sat outside writing in her journal. That's when she saw it, a faint light between the trees, a lantern, swinging slowly, back and forth, back and forth. It was too far to see who held it. Her breath caught. There should be no one else out here. She reached for her binoculars. Through the lens, she saw a tall, thin figure. So thin it looked barely human. The figure stopped walking and pointed the lantern directly at her. The flame inside flickered into a long, unnatural shape, almost like a mouth opening. Elena lowered the binoculars instantly. Her heartbeat thundered when she raised them again. The lantern man was gone, completely vanished. No light, no footsteps, not even the sound of branches moving. The forest was dead silent, Elena whispered to herself. Just a hunter, or someone hiking. But deep inside, she knew that wasn't true. She went into the tent and tried to sleep. At 2:53 a.m., her eyes snapped open. There was a sound, a slow, dragging sound. Shh, shh, shh. Footsteps. Someone walking just outside the tent. Elena grabbed her hunting knife and flashlight, her hands shaking as she turned the light on. Then came a knock on the tent wall. Soft, gentle tap, tap, tap. "Hello?" Elena called, voice trembling. No response, only breathing. Long, heavy breathing on the other side of the fabric. Suddenly, fingers pressed against the thin tent wall. 10 long, bony fingers stretching the fabric inward. Elena stumbled backward and kicked her equipment bag. The fingers traced along the wall. Slowly. Searching. Then a voice, deep and cold, whispered, I have been looking for someone like you. Elena's heart slammed in her chest. In a panic, she grabbed her flare gun, unzipped the tent, and fired into the darkness. The flare streaked across the forest, lighting the trees in bright red. But there was no lantern, no man. Elena decided she was leaving at dawn, but dawn never seemed to come. She checked her watch at 6:10 a.m. Still pitch black outside. 7:45, still dark. 9:13, still night. The sky did not change. Her compass didn't move. Her GPS blinked error codes. She tried her satellite phone. Dead. She felt a chill creep up her spine. Something was wrong with the forest. At 10:02 a.m., according to her watch, a sound echoed. A lantern lighting, a flame sparking to life. Elena froze. The light was back closer now, inside the trees, approaching in slow gliding movements. She saw the figure again, tall, thin, arms too long. The lantern dangled from its hand, swaying rhythmically back and forth. Back and forth. Elena whispered, Stay away from me. The figure tilted its head, an unnatural angle, almost upside down, as if listening. Then it started humming, a low, tuneless hum, the same rhythm as the lantern swinging. Elena grabbed her backpack and bolted toward the forest path, tripping over roots, sprinting blindly. The humming grew louder behind her, faster, hungrier. She ran until her lungs burned. She didn't stop until the path ended abruptly at a cliff overlooking a frozen river. Her breath caught in her throat. Behind her, the humming stopped. She slowly turned. The lantern man stood less than 20 meters away. She now saw him clearly, a pale face stretched too long, hollow eyes that glowed faintly, a jaw that hung as if unclosed, clothes rotted as if he died wearing them, and a lantern burning with a black flame. He lifted his free hand, unnaturally long fingers bending backwards like broken twigs. Stay back, Elena whispered. The lantern man tilted his head and spoke. You followed my light, so now I follow you. Elena threw a rock at him. It passed straight through his body. He did not move. He did not blink. He only whispered, Run. The trees behind him snapped and twisted violently, like something large was moving through them. Elena turned and slid down the snowy cliff toward the frozen river. Her backpack hit the ice. She followed, landing hard and gasping in pain, but she got up and ran across the ice. The humming returned, echoing across the trees. The lantern man walked along the cliff edge, watching. He didn't need to run. He didn't need to chase. He just pointed the lantern at her. The flame turned blue. Suddenly, cracks spread across the ice beneath her feet. Crack, crack, crack. Elena fell through. The water was freezing, sharp as knives. She screamed underwater, scrambling toward the surface. Then she saw something beneath her, something moving in the black water. Hands. Pale, skeletal hands rising from the depths, reaching, grabbing. Dozens of them. She kicked violently, broke the surface, and pulled herself onto the ice, coughing and choking. The lantern man's voice echoed from the trees. The forest is hungry. Elena crawled onto the riverbank and forced herself to stand. She ran again, through the bitter cold, through tangled branches, through endless darkness. Hours passed. Her watch now read 3:54 p.m. But the forest still clung to night. Every sound behind her was wrong. Footsteps too close, too soft, too slow. Each time she turned, nothing was there. Until she reached her camp again. But everything was different. Her tent was shredded, her backpack torn open, her map burned, her food scattered. But the worst part, there were footprints, bare, human footprints, leading around the tent in circles, dozens of circles. As if someone had walked around it again and again and again, Elena felt her legs go weak. She had to get out. She grabbed a flare, lit it, and waved it wildly, screaming for help. The flare hissed and burned bright red. Then, a hand reached out from the darkness and crushed the flare completely, extinguishing it. Elena screamed and stumbled backward. The lantern man stepped into view, but now he was closer than ever, only a few meters away. His lantern burned with white flame, lighting his face. A face that wasn't a face. It was stretched, flattened, as if pressed against glass. His mouth opened sideways, splitting through his cheeks. He whispered gently, "You're almost mine." Elena turned and ran deeper into the forest. Any direction, any escape, even if she didn't know where she was going. Branches whipped her face. Her clothes tore. Her breath formed clouds of panic. Finally, she saw something. A cabin old, abandoned, but real. She sprinted inside and slammed the door shut. Dark, dusty, rotting. She found a wooden bar and pushed it against the door. Her heartbeat pounded in her throat. She hid behind a broken table, covering her mouth with both shaking hands. Minutes passed. Silence. Then the lantern flame glowed through the cabin window. The humming started again, slow, rhythmic, inevitable. Elena whispered, "Please, someone, please find me." The lantern man walked slowly toward the cabin. His lantern light leaked through the cracks in the walls, sliding across the floor like crawling shadows. He stopped just outside the door. The wood creaked. His voice filled the cabin, deep and echoing, as if coming from the walls themselves. "No one leaves Blackwood without replacing the last one who tried." Then, the door handle moved once, twice. The lantern man whispered, "Come into the dark." The door exploded inward, wood shattering like bones. Elena screamed and grabbed the broken leg of a chair, swinging repeatedly as the lantern man stepped inside. Her strikes passed straight through him. He reached out and wrapped his cold, impossibly long fingers around her wrist. She felt her body grow numb, her vision blur, her strength drain. He lifted the lantern to her face. Inside the lantern, she saw dozens of faces screaming, human faces trapped inside the flame. The lantern man whispered, "You will join them." In one last desperate attempt, Elena reached into her pocket and grabbed her emergency magnesium flare. She